Alfie is a WOR race winner.
Jensen makes it 5 in a row.
Danny Bergenay wins on debut.
Shinaka returns to winning ways in WOR.
Season 12 sees a new man. It's Shadow. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jensen is the new king of PlayStation.
From the back row of the grid, against all odds, Nicholas Longy wins the title.
Goes past the safety car.
What has gone on here?
Bowman spins.
Stunning move from the Spaniard.
He's taken out Rambo. Here comes Longy.
We're going 4 wide down to turn 1.
Oh, he's taking him out.
The champion runs is complete.
Sonic to the inside.
Shadow wins at Brazil. Absolutely sensational.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to World Online Racing. We've got plenty of drivers fresh from esports. And on Bonfire Weekend here in Great Britain, I think we're going to see plenty more fireworks out on track tonight. Welcome to COTA. It is the United States Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. Joining me in the commentary box once again this season is Jack Canaan. And as I've said, Dave, esports is anything to go by. Should be a pretty exciting race.
Yeah, for those of you that missed it, boy, did you miss something on Wednesday evening. Probably one of the craziest finishes in the F1 esports season so far. And we're just going to get, hopefully, a replication of it. It was COTA on Wednesday. It's COTA again. We've got Jarno on the grid. We've got Thomas Ronar on the grid. You know, and we've got a championship fight as well. That's going on right here. Lucas Blakely's still heading it up. But it's, even though he's about 20 points in the lead now, he's actually within a shot of losing that championship lead.
Yes, we'll quickly show the championship standings as they are at the moment. And as Jack said, he's not been here for a while, but Lucas Blakely is still leading the championship. But that could all change tonight. In fact, probably worth looking at those ones behind him. Jarno 104, Tom Manley 94 points, Pedreño 87. No, Opmia 104, sorry, Manley 94, Pedreño 87, Ronar 86, Jake Benham 85 points, just 19 points separating those 5 drivers. And crucially, if Jarno repeats what he managed to do a couple of days ago, if he manages to take another win, he will lead for championship tonight. And he seems to be hitting form in this series and in esports just at the right time.
Seems to. However, we may have just cursed him, Luke, because I've just gone in and checked the driver's chat. He's just said his pedals aren't working. So that's not very good, is it? So it's, I mean, you know, hopefully he gets them working, but that's just the way we do it here. We say something and it immediately goes wrong.
Yes, so hopefully Jarno will be able to get those working. For those unfamiliar with how WOR works, it is a full qualifying session. So as long as you can get in, I believe you have still got to get in that first qualifying session to be allowed to take part in the race, just with the way that things work. Now, it has been a few weeks since we last raced due to the real-life US Grand Prix and Mexican Grand Prix, but last time at our own Mexican Grand Prix, it was Alfie Butcher who took the victory there. You might remember an absolutely crazy final lap of the race, all sorts of carnage happening throughout the field. It was Alfie Butcher who took the victory there. Ron finishing in second place, Will Lewis in third, Ruben Pedreño having a penalty removed, moving in back ahead of Mirko Soriano, Shootout West, Max Wiesel, who, fascinatingly, out of all the drivers that have done more than 5 races, it's only Max, Jarno, and Lucas Blakely that have scored more than 5 points. That have scored points in every single race that they've took part in. Out of those that have done more than 5 races, that's not bad company to be in for Max Wiesel. And Jake Benham and Duncan Hoffland were the lower point scorers. I think everyone's going to be looking at those drivers towards the top, and I think you could arguably say, I know, touch wood, that we are able to get Jarno's pedals working once again, but at the moment, Jarno and Thomas Ronhaar possibly the two most informed drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going off F1 Esports alone, I mean, Ronhar's been shining up at the top end of F1 Esports, and Jarno is refining that form again at a crucial time. So we've got two guys who are fighting for the F1 Esports Championship on the grid with us, and you've got it'd be hard to bet against them really going into this one. We've also got Jake Benham. He made his debut during the week as well in F1 Esports and got himself his first points in the bag as well. So you can't count out Jake Benham either. More confidence building from him continually, but great to see him finally making his debut in F1 Esports. We've had Jake around for so long, but never on the F1 Esports grid. It was great to see him out there.
Yeah, definitely. I think actually it's been quite a diverse series so far. I think out of the 30 possible drivers, we've seen 28 of them. So who knows? Going into the final races of the season, depending on what happens in the championships, we might get to see the final two, Wilson Hughes and Liam Parnell. Liam racing tonight, hopefully make their debuts in esports. Talking of the grid tonight, we'll go for it now. Mercedes have got their esports lineup in. Jake Benham and Jarno Opmeer. In the Red Bull, it's going to be Liam Parnell and Timon Shooter. In the Ferrari, the now familiar lineup of Alessio Di Capua and Mirko Suriano. In the McLaren, Ruben Pedreño and Modesto Mena. The Alpine is going to see Ika Baena and Max Vissel. In the AlphaTauri, it is going to be Jack West and Tom Manley. And Tom Manley has had a few rig problems, but he's got his wheel attached to a desk. Hopefully, it's a pretty sturdy desk. Otherwise, might be finding himself having a bit of fun over some of the curbs around this circuit. Aston Martin have got Manuel Bianchi-Leah and Duncan Hoffland. In the Williams, it's Tino Nakarainen and Valentin Buffa. Alfa Romeo, their development duo of Cartalundi and Drake Dempsey. And in the Haas, Thomas Ronhar and Georges Nader. We'll take a quick look as we are just waiting for the final couple of drivers to get into the lobby at the track that the drivers will be racing on tonight. 5.513 kilometers, 20 turns. You know, I mean, we saw in the week that overtaking zone in towards turn 12. Pretty much by the time you get towards the final corner, as it turns out to be the case many of the time now, you don't really know if you managed to seal that move.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw it all kick off, really. It was very quiet in the first sector. You know, it's quite a tight technical sector, quite like Silverstone, sort of just following. But you're also got to make sure that you stay close through that sector to line yourself up for that back straight. And sort of sector 2, sector 3 is where we saw it all kick off in F1 Esports, really, at the end of the straight in the braking zone. Side-by-side through that banked left-hander as well, that really opens up the inside, and then round the long turn, triple apex right-hander, where we saw it all kick off again. So there's plenty of overtaking opportunities around here, and plenty of opportunity now for differing strategies. We saw some guys, take some alternating strategies in Kota, and now that the F1 Esports round is over, we could see somebody trying something completely different.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in Kota we saw Vane at the start of the race, so who knows whether we're going to get that tonight, which could definitely spice things up. But yeah, we are seeing now drivers do a few different strategies, and since we last saw a WOR race, there has been the sports update, so there's updated liveries, but in that, a really fascinating little thing that has changed, you are now allowed sort of free tyre choice. You're allowed to choose what kind of tyres you want again, so that opens up the strategies. We were seeing strategies looking very fixed at the start of this game in the first few months, if we're being perfectly honest. Now we might get a tiny bit more variety, and esports has sort of followed that line. Drivers starting on all three different types of tyres, where usually the softs have been a qualifying only tyre.
Yeah, and it's nice to see the softs getting used in a race setting, because it's very rare that we saw it up until we saw some in F1 Esports trying it, one or two trying it early on to try and get an advantage off the start. So, you know, there's plenty of opportunities for trying alternating strategies now, and we sort of know off of F1 Esports what works and what doesn't, so maybe that might sway some people as well. But again, because the round is over, you know, now it's nobody really cares. It's all about who can get across the line first, really. And Q1 is now underway.
Yeah, Q1 is now underway as we get ourselves in towards the lobby for that one. There are going to be Thomas Ronhard did briefly disconnect from the session, but he will be joining back in. So we are going to have 19 drivers in this, and as we said, hopefully Jarno will be able to make his way in as well, as Tino Nakarainen, don't believe he's got a qualifying ban, but clearly not too bothered about how things are going to go in this session. He is going to be starting from the back of the grid, and are now traditional. Drivers heading out on that set of the intermediate tyres just to get there. Setup's okay, just to make sure the wheel's working, and of course, to make sure that they've got a nice extra set of soft tyres saved for Q2 and Q3.
Yeah, and I say it every time. It's like we've got three certainties in life: death, taxes, and esports drivers using intermediates in Q1. So again, we'll constantly see it. We may see differing strategies, we may see differing setups. So there's one thing that will always remain the same until they explicitly ban it. It's intermediates in Q1. But it's always fun to see, really. Some guys having some fun out on the intermediates. If you're wondering why they do it, is to check their setup has loaded correctly. It's to check that their force feedback is working correctly, and everything else in between without wasting a set of the dry tyres, because you want as many soft tyres as you possibly can to get yourself the best chance of getting pole position or getting through to Q3. So that is the reason for that. So it's a very simple addition. It's a very simple thought, but you know, it's sort of only been pioneered in the last 2 years or so with the intermediates in Q1 with the tyre rule. So all to save sets of softs, and some guys won't even bother coming out until we get to maybe around the 10 minutes to go mark.
Yeah, a bit of a funny story to say, actually. We were talking about the tyres, how you can now choose, you know, a softer set of tyres, so get an extra soft tyres, or you can go harder, or you can pick the same one. That is only on the normal build at the moment. It's not actually on the esports build, and I think a few of the esports drivers on the grid have been caught out by that one. So that could be a bit interesting if they've picked the wrong one by accident, but as we've said, it should lead to a big variety of strategies, unless Udia Capoe is going to be the first driver to set a quote-unquote hot lap in this session. The intermediates are a much nicer tyre on this game than they were on previous ones. We've got Jake Benham going out there on a set of the full wet tyres, so this could be very sketchy for Mr. Benham.
Certainly could, because the intermediates have some kind of grip. But as you can see with Jake Benham, the wets have absolutely no grip because they overheat very, very quickly. So I'm interested to see as he gets on the power. He's just having a little drift session around there. The man who used to be very, very good for his drifting was Fabrizio Donoso. I think Jakey V is taking over that right now with the full wets on. I'm interested to see how he gets out of this very slow corner down at the end of the straight now, because he's going to have absolutely no traction on the wets here. In he goes, finds the apex. You can see it's already gone. It's already gone halfway through the apex. So that is the difference, ladies and gentlemen, between intermediates and the full wets once you overheat them. But as well, unless you're in a full wet race, you're not going to need them. So he's out there for the fun of it. And in the meantime, is also saving himself a set of soft tires. It's a very nice transition into that left-hander until he spun it in the apex. That was almost a very, very nice drift, Jake, but unfortunately not quite.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well at the moment, but I think F1 esports is probably what he should stick to. Formula D start doing esports. No offense, Jake. I'm not sure that is going to be your destination. As De Capua goes fastest on a 1:38.666. Again, we will be seeing much faster times than that as the sessions go on and the drivers start to head out on a set of the soft tyres. In fact, Cartalondi has even gone faster than that now. The majority of this grid will have either practiced this because they were racing in esports, practiced this because they could have been racing in esports, or practicing because they're a development driver, and we're seeing two development drivers out on top, Lundy and Dempsey, who, you know, it's possible they've done more laps around here than some of the esporters.
That is very true. As Duncan Hoffland as well, another development driver up to the top of the order in the Aston Martin. So Max Wiesel immediately eclipses that on his intermediate tyres. But yeah, we've got lots of the development drivers. We've got Duncan Hoffland in Aston Martin, of course, Carlo Lundy and Drake Dempsey in there. We've got Mirko Suriano as well, recently announced as the development driver for Ferrari. So it's great to see these guys who are, I suppose, on their early journey in esports, seeing them on the grid alongside the established names such as Jarno, such as Thomas, and all of those guys as well. So great to see them out there. And again, it's a chance for them to show what they can do in a race setting, because they wouldn't get really very many opportunities within the team to try and to show themselves in a race setting. So this is the perfect opportunity for that, and it also puts them up against the other development drivers to see how they stack up.
Yeah, definitely. Just to give themselves that little bit of an edge, little bit of a interesting scenario, because you'd be expecting a lot of these development drivers You know, Mirko Soriano, you mentioned, I think he was the last driver from the Pro Exhibition to actually get himself a development seat. So that should be absolutely, well, it's fantastic news for him. But a lot of these drivers will be, hopefully, they'll be thinking, taking part in Pro Exhibition and therefore having taken part in the challenges again. So that is going to be one to watch. And you can see them at the moment, Manuel Biancalila currently showing on the medium tyres. That's something we don't see too often on this game, especially in full qualifying, especially with the rule for 2022 that everyone is now used to. There is no Q2 tyre rule, so whatever you qualify on in Q2 has absolutely no difference whatsoever. 11 minutes, 30 seconds to go. Only 5 drivers that have set a time at the moment, and all of them on a set of the intermediates. And the other big news, will Jarno Opmeer be able to get his pedals sorted in time? Otherwise, he will be starting, at best, at the back of the grid. At worst, he will miss that opportunity to head possibly towards the top of the championship standings and could come under threat from the likes of Pedreño, Ronha, Manley, and his teammate Jake Benham behind. And we've reached the quiet part of qualifying. Everybody is in the pit lane.
Yeah, it's all quiet on the Western Front, you could say, at the moment, as they all come into the pit lane, and it'll always be around the 10-minute mark that guys will start to come out on for their normal runs, on their soft tire runs. Only a couple of people decided to do some intermediates. You can see they've all switched to soft tires, apart from Manuel Biancalila, who's decided he wants to go on mediums. One car coming out of the pit lane now, and that is Carter Lundy, who is coming out of the pit lane on the soft compound tire. So let's see what he is capable of. And he'll have the whole track to himself for a little bit, as well as he takes his Alfa Romeo through the first sector and gets himself set up for the first run, the first proper runs of Q1. It's just the 2 Alphas who will be the first to come out. Drake Dempsey, of course, in his home race in the US. Let's see how he gets on.
Yeah, definitely. He'll be hoping to put in a good performance. Our reigning Tier 2 champion at the moment. We see this a lot from the Alfa Romeos, whether it's, you know, Lundy and Dempsey driving earlier on in the season when it was their esports duo of Longay and Paradchits. They always like to be out on the circuit earlier on. Yes, it means you're not getting the optimum in terms of track evolution, but less likely to bump into traffic. And if you do make a mistake, you've got that possibility of getting laps done later on. Now, a lot of these will be hoping that they'll be able to do this lap early enough and but in terms of doing it early enough, they'll be able to do a fast lap on this first one. And, of course, save a set of tyres for later on. That could be very important. If it's anything like esports, though, that's going to be a pretty tough job and a pretty tough ask. 1:32.2 was the knockout time in esports. 1:32.0 was the fastest in this session. So, you know, I think, again, you can probably expect if you get into that 1:32.1, 1:32.0, you should be safe, barring some absolutely miraculous lap times. But here comes the Canadian. Here comes Carter Lundy to head around the final corner and get ready to start a flying lap, a first proper flying lap of the Circuit of the Americas, the 10th circuit that has hosted Formula 1 in the United States. But Miami's added since then, and we will be getting Las Vegas next year as he makes his way in towards turn number 1 and then sweeping downhill towards turn number 2 for this almost Maggott, Beckett and Chapel-esque section as you fling your car through the S's, each one getting tighter than the last. And Carter finally having to brake for that one there. Nice and steady though, 25.292. His first sector time. Watch out for this curve on the left. Oh, that's why we said watch out for that curve on the left. Carter Lundy, straight away. That looked strange. That almost looked as though something broke on his game or on his setup, because he just headed... He didn't hit the curve that hard. Headed straight towards the wall, and Carter Lundy is out of this session.
Yeah, that's very unusual. Now, I have heard of issues with throttle spiking before, where the throttle just goes to 100% randomly. That may have happened to Carter Lundy through there. Now, he did invalidate the time on the curve. He used quite a lot of it, but I was not expecting him to just spear off into the wall like that. Very unusual incident right there, but that's Carter Lundy out of qualifying. That'll be a free position for somebody to get through onto into Q2. So a very unusual incident there for Carter Lundy, and that's him out of qualifying. But in the meantime, it'll be his teammate Drake Dempsey. He'll be the first to set a representative time around this circuit. He's about to come through the long sweeping right here, and this is a prime overtaking opportunity like we've seen before in F1 Esports. Hitting the curb on the way through into the left-hander. This is a very easy place to invalidate it. Gets it through nicely there into the final corner, using the curb on the left-hand side. Back onto the power nice and gently and across the line for a 33.118. Steady time around there for Drake Dempsey, but he sets the first time, which is immediately eclipsed by Valentin Thivard on a 32.719 in his Williams car. So plenty of runs still to come. There's still nearly 6.5 minutes to go. So there's still time for more runs later on in Q1. But we already have one who won't be making it through the Q2, and that's Carter Lundy as George's Nader goes to the top.
Yeah, I mean, we've already got two that won't be making it. You can see there's just, well, Tino Nakarainen as well, retiring from the session earlier on. So, opportunity for more drivers to possibly make it through. Thomas Ronhaar has gone out there on the medium tyres again. Not something that you see too often on this game. Racing with a Mick Schumacher helmet as he joined later on in the session, of course. So, interesting to see that one up there. We don't know whether we'll be seeing the Schumacher helmet next season at all. Still him or Nico Hulkenberg to be decided for that final seat. But we'll get a bit of an idea of what the laps are like on the median. As Ruben Pedreño does a 1:32.387. Ruben very good at getting through to the next part of qualifying on only one lap. So don't be surprised if that is the only time we see him in this first qualifying session. But we've just seen Tom Manley get himself up towards 4th place, trying to adjust slightly different things on his setup. What could Thomas Ronhaar do as he heads around the final couple of corners? I'll be surprised if this lap is anywhere near good enough to get him through to the next part of qualifying. There we go, 1:32.716. Very respectable from Ronhaar, but I think he knows he's going to have to go out later on a set of the soft tyres. But has got a spare set for later on if needed.
Yeah, that's it. It's still a very, very quick time on medium tyres for Thomas Ronhaar. So P6 for him provisionally, 32.716, just a couple of thousandths quicker than Valentin Thivard. Jake Benham into second place, now 32.42, just in behind Ruben Pedreño with his initial run-ish. That may be enough to see him through in this first part of qualifying. We got everybody has set times except for Ikebana Manuel Bankalila, who's invalidated his time. That would have been a 33.2, so that would have put him just behind Modesto Mena in 13th there. And Simon Shootout also hasn't set a time. But there'll be two drivers who won't make it through, which is Carter Lundy and Tino Nakarainen. So that's immediately going to give some breathing space to some of these guys. So there'll be more guys who'll be able to get themselves through that maybe normally wouldn't be able to find themselves through, but there is some free space because of Carter Lundy's crash and Tino Nakarainen not taking part in qualifying. George Nader, he's retired from the session, so he reckons he's going to be safe on a 32.5.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tight, I think, on that time. If I was Pedreño and Benham, I'd be feeling pretty confident on the moment on a 32.3 and a 32.4, respectively. Jake Benham, we just saw there, as he headed towards the finish line, he had run out of his deployment, so maybe just needs to save a bit more on the lap, and that could easily find just a tiny little bit of time, that 36 thousandths of a second between himself and Pedreño at this moment in time. And you might be thinking, everyone watching at home, but Carter Lundy's in 15th place at the moment. You know, if he gets through, you know, he's safe, isn't he? Well, if he does get through, if he does somehow end up in 15th only, and we don't see improvements from Baena, Bianchilila or Diamond Shooter, because he's retired from the session and crashed out on track, he won't take any further part in this session. So 15th will be the very best he can do, even if the in-game mechanics were able to somehow get the car fixed in that time. But once again, things very quiet out on circuit. Valentin Thivard just starting a outlap. Emmanuel Bianchilila just heading into the pit lane. And it is Baena, Bianchilila and Shooter. Those are the drivers that are looking in the most danger at the moment. 3 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and at this rate, unfortunately, Jarno is going to be starting from the back because he's got no time to set a lap, even if he does get in. So we'll be able to see possibly a last to first challenges even if he manages to get his pedals working, which we're hoping for as well. But yeah, that'll be that. So we know who's going to be starting from the back of the grid if they do manage to get themselves in. So that'll be an interesting watch to see if how he manages to get on from the back of the grid. So now we're going to have the last runs of Q1. Currently, the cutoff, well, at the moment, is a 38.6, so that's a completely unrepresentative time from Alessio Di Capua. So There's still plenty of time for these guys. Well, they're going to have one run to do it. Uppbeat in P17, no time yet. Manuel Biancalila, also no time. And Simon Shootout, you would imagine, would get himself through in 19th place. Mikro Suriana, he's also retired. He's happy with his time. Ronar has retired as well, and he said his time on the mediums, don't forget. So he might actually be able to get himself through on a set of medium tyres, which I don't think I've actually ever seen on this game so far.
Yeah, that is crazy. I think, obviously, with, you know, Lundy and Tino being out, and there's only going to be, realistically, 2 drivers dropping out of this session. So, yeah, Thomas Ronhard getting through on the mediums. I agree. I've not seen it happen on this game whatsoever, and that would be an absolutely fantastic performance from him. Let's see what Valentin Tybard can do on this lap. He is a bit of a qualifying specialist back in his PlayStation days, and that seems to have passed over onto the PC platform as well. So don't be surprised if the Williams is there or thereabouts later on in this session, but he's currently 7 thousandths down at the moment as he does avoid the curb. That caught out Lundy earlier on. Carter's actually asked him in the Discord. He just honestly said, I don't really know what happened there. So yeah, wouldn't surprise me if there was some sort of throttle spike. Oh, just got completely caught out by the curb. Through turn number 11, a crucial corner as it leads to this undulating DRS straight. We'll be seeing drivers weaving all over the place in the race. For now, though, it is stick towards that right-hand side as much as possible. Brake as late as you can around that 100-metre board. Pulling the car in towards turn number 12. And now into this almost like Hockenheim section, a stadium section, which provides plenty of side-by-side action through turn 13, 14 and 15 here. And again, get a good exit. Aston Martin are just making sure that they are well out of the way there through this right-hander. 16, 17 and 18 really test for downforce of a modern Formula 1 car. And then 19 and 20, the final corners. You see plenty of invalidations through here. Tybard coming very close to doing so, but it should be a slight improvement. And in fact, found plenty of time in the final sector there. Valentin Tybard goes up to the top of the standings on a 132.371.
Yeah, really good stuff for Valentin Tybard there, up to the top of Q1. So now, rest of the laps are still underway. Jack West, 0.2 of a second up on his best time. But the first man on this run who will come across the line, no, it won't be Uppbeat. He will not make it through. He's invalidated in the final 2 corners. So he will not make it through to Q2. So the only 2 that can really challenge now are Manuel Biancalila and Simon Shootout to get themselves through into the next part of qualifying. Ben has actually crashed on the way into the pit lane. That's not great. So now, a few more improvements to come in this next part. Simon Shootout coming to the last 2 corners now. Onto the power, has managed to keep it clean so far. Into the last corner he comes. He's currently last the pecking order, and he's now going to get himself, hopefully, up the order. He gets himself up to 7th on the 32.673. That is safe for him there as he comes down. Jack West is actually disconnected on his lap. Now, that is absolutely heartbreaking for Jack West. He will make it through anyway, I think, but not what you want, not ideal. Alessio Di Capo across the line does not improve and stays in 16th place, and that was a 32.3. That would have seen him right up at the top of the order with that lap, but has invalidated in the final 2 corners and unfortunately will not make it through to the next part of qualifying. Manuel Biancalila, has he found any more time in the Aston Martin? Yes, he has, up to 4th, and demotes Carter Lundy out anyway in 16th place. But that is it. Valentin Tybard tops Q1, but Alessio Di Capo, he invalidated a fastest time run on that last run.
Yeah, so unlucky for Di Capo. He's really starting to show a bit more pace later on. Just those invalidations costing him once more. And Biancalila right at the death, shooting himself up in towards 4th place. But it was Tybard who was fastest. Pedreño second, Benem, Biancalila and Nader rounding out the top 5. And the drivers we are losing in Q1. Carter Lundy, we saw have his accident in 16th. Di Capo invalidated in 17th. Tino didn't set a time. Ika Baena didn't set a time. And of course, we will be seeing Jarno Opmeer starting in last place. Because as you can see in the chat, he has managed to get his pedals working, but was unable to join in time to get a lap done in that session. So it will be the back of the grid for him. And it was quite a scrappy session, I think it's fair to say, Jack. You know, a lot of drivers finding things difficult. Everyone who set a clean lap on the soft tyres made it through.
Yeah, I think the big story of this, though, Luke, is that Thomas Ronar got through on 1 set of mediums, on 1 run on the mediums. He got himself through very, very close. There was a couple of drivers, about 5 or 6 drivers within the same 1/10 of a second, but he got through on the mediums, 3/10 off pole. So surely now, you got to think, with a set of softs on, Thomas Ronar is your bet for pole position at this point.
Yeah, he's going to be looking very good indeed. Definitely just been able to do that so confidently, and in the end, getting through fairly comfortably. Never looked in any danger of getting knocked out at any point in that session, which is probably a bit scary for some of the other drivers. But there you can see, 15 left for this 15-minute session. We'll be losing 5 more. We've got a few drivers heading out there straight away, the majority of which, of course, will be on a used set of tyres. So don't be surprised if these times are a tiny bit slower than what we saw at the end of Q1 just there. But Max Wiesel leading the pack away. And I've got to say, I know he set his time quite later than everyone else, but great lap by Biancalila towards the end there.
Absolutely, yeah, and he'd actually run out of deployment in the final corner, so there probably would have been more time in it for Manuel Biancalila, who has competed in a couple of rounds of F1 Esports in place of John Evans so far this season. Probably unexpectedly, I think you would agree with, but yeah, he's settled into it now, and yeah, performed very well at the end of Q1 there. So let's see if he can, what he can do from Q2. It looks like he may have pace for Q3 here, Manuel Biancalila, so let's see what he can do. A former AlphaTauri F1 Esports driver before he moved over to Aston Martin alongside Simon Weigang and John Evans, and as well now the development driver right behind him, Duncan Hoffland, who's in behind him as well. So now so again, just like we kind of saw in F1 Esports, Luke, the hopes of Mercedes lie on Jake Benham's shoulders now.
Yeah, we'll see what Jake can do. He's going to be right up there towards the top. Mercedes are battling with McLaren in the Constructors' Championship as well here in WOR. McLaren winning that like they are in esports, 199 points, but Mercedes only 10 points behind. And Mercedes have both their full-time drivers here. McLaren only have one full-time driver here, and that is Ruben Pedreño. Tonight, with Valentin Proufer being unable to make it, so that's an opportunity for Mercedes to get themselves up towards the top of the standings once more. Ron Har and also Drake Dempsey this time out on a set of medium tyres as Max Wiesel takes us around for the lap. And Jack, why don't you take us through this one?
Absolutely. So on his way up towards Big Red, that is of course the name of the corner in turn number 1. We're missing the big old flag there that we had in the actual race. Round turn 2, then up towards what we like to call Maggots Beckett's Chapel. It basically is Silverstone, and very easy to invalidate over the curbs as well. Then trying to get round to the right-hand side curb. You've got to make sure you've got a car that can have some front end to agree with you there. Unfortunately, Max Wiesel has actually invalidated that first run on the used set of tyres. But he will carry on. Nearly loses the back end on the way through the top of the hill. They're dropping down towards the back straight then. Very tight corner here, down into 4th gear, back on the power. And this is the first of the DRS sections, and one of the only DRS sections on the lap as well, all the way down towards the braking zone for this very, very tight left-hander at this next stadium section. Out to the right-hand side, using all of the road, back to the apex on the left-hand side, and then these slow sections of corners, like Luke referred to, almost like Hockenheim in the stadium section. Through the right again, the camber not helping you out there. Then this very wide corner opens itself to overtaking, as we saw in F1 Esports, then towards turn number 13, all the way round this triple apex right-hander, and then towards the last 2 corners right now. Turn 14 greets them there on the left-hand side. Up towards the final corner. Now, it will be an invalidated time, but we will still get an idea of what the time will be for Max Wiesel on the used set of tyres. 33.197, so that is, of course, quite a ways off what we saw, but again, they were on used tyres. So, again, it looked neat and tidy for Max Wiesel. Again, like you said, one of the only drivers so far this season to have scored in every single round, and currently on course to keep that going in Q2.
Yeah, definitely doing it for the older boys there, Max Wiesel, keeping it nice and consistent at the moment. His time quickly, well, would have been beaten if he'd have set a valid one by Pedreño and then Duncan Hoffland. Both of them getting into the 132s, but we'll see the times come down more and more as the session goes on, of course, especially once drivers start heading there on a set of the soft tyres. Not bad from Drake Dempsey, a 133.253 from him, but that is going to be on a U set of the mediums, as he didn't have a U set in Q1, didn't use those tyres, as Thomas Ronhar comes across the line on his mediums, a 132.994 from him. So again, he's not representative of what we're going to see later on in the session. Everyone's just getting that delta on the board, just because it gives you a bit of confidence. Yes, you've got that time on the board, but later on, when you see yourself setting a nice green time on your fast lap, you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, it's a big psychological advantage, as some people would like to refer to it as, just to see that green sector rather than a red sector it obviously will boost. It does boost performance, and it does keep you focused on the lap, rather than trying to keep an eye on where you're red and where you're green. If you're constantly green, then obviously you're going to keep it neat and tidy for most of the lap, as long as you can keep it green. So good stuff there from the first runs of Q2, so that everyone can peel back into pit lane and start bolting on some fresh tyres, as we have now 9 minutes. Thomas Ronnar is doing donuts on the back straight there. I've just joined him there as he's drifting down and completely ruining his beautiful medium tyres that he strapped on to that car. I don't think he's going to need them again as he comes down into the next part. He's doing a Brendan Lee flick spin. He's figured it out. He's learned from the best.
Yeah, not a bad person to learn from, Brendan Lee, of course. Multiple esports champion, and Thomas Ronhard doing his own little drift session at the moment. I'm almost certain he will have a fresh set of medium tyres for the race, because this one, they're not going to be any good whatsoever. They're going to be good for, I think, spares only. The wheels he might be able to salvage something on. The rest probably shredded up and made for a playground at the moment. So yeah, very interesting indeed from Thomas Ronhard there in third place at the moment. Nice and chilled from him. We've got Valentin Tyvard out though on a hot lap at the moment. He was the fastest driver in Q1, but had to do it on a second run, unlike the likes of Pedrinho and Jake Benham. And Jake Benham invalidating his first run. So let's see what Tyvard has done. Another driver that is running out of deployment before the finish line. That is why the red light is flashing. Well, that is our first first fresh soft tyre run in this session. And Valentin Tyvard, 132.408.
Absolutely, very impressive performance from Valentin Tyvard so far. And that is like I said, the first representative time, 4/10 quicker than Duncan Hoffland. And that is the first attempt he's done. He'll head back to pit lane and have another run on another set of tyres if he's got some. Or maybe he's happy with that. Maybe he thinks he can get through on the single run. But 32.4, could be pushing it a little bit in Q2, as everyone, as you can see, everyone from 6th downwards has not set times yet, or representative times. Max Wiesel back out on the track as well. George Nader, Jake Benham, Jack West, Mika Suriano, Liam Parnell, everybody is out on the circuit except for Thomas Ronnar, who's just come back in, and Drake Dempsey, who is currently in the pit lane as well. So it's going to get interesting now with these runs in qualifying, and it will be, I think, Simon Shooter who gets us underway for the first runs. He's got some lovely shiny new soft tyres on that Red Bull.
Yeah, lovely shiny soft tyres and plenty of space as well. I was just looking at some of the drivers further back. Wiesel and Suriano seem to be trying to occupy the same point of track, and they've got a McLaren not too far ahead of him. We've had a question. What's the weather going to be for the race? We don't know. Drivers have not let us know what the weather is for the race. Would not surprise me. If it is dry, it is more often than not, but we could be completely surprised here. And Diamond Shooter, he's just hoping that it stays nice and dry for qualifying, which it almost certainly will be doing. As the Dutchman, again, former esports driver, makes his way around turn number 11 on towards the back straight. Now, got his best result of the season last time out. His first points of the season. Wait and see what he can do in this lap. 132.4. I think he's going to be there or thereabouts the cut-off. Anything quicker than that, I think you are going to be sitting pretty for the rest of this session. Bumping his way over the curve there at turn number 12. Seems to be the way the drivers do. You do seem to be allowed to do that on that corner. The game pretty forgiving with the track limits around there. A lot more forgiving than the real-life stewards were around this circuit. So plenty of drivers getting times deleted for track limit violations. Diamond Shooter making his way towards the final couple of corners now. Can he challenge Valentin Tyvard? Can he beat Valentin Tyvard? And if he doesn't, I think he's almost certainly going to have to go out again if he wants to make it into the top 10 later on. Diamond Shooter towards the line. 132.546. Do not think that will be quick enough. We'll see who else we've got out on circuit at the moment. I think Thomas Ronhar, he's just heading his way. Would this been a bit of fast lap from Thomas Ronhar? No, just on his out lap at the moment. So wait and see what he can do next time around. We've now got Modesto Mena heading towards the finish line. This lap for the Spaniard heads towards the line. 132.445 from him. Max Wiesel, 132.346. The first driver who I think will be feeling any sort of confidence about getting through to Q3.
Absolutely good stuff from Max Wiesel right there up the top end of Q2 so far. Ruben Pedreño will eclipse that, 32.222 for him. Across the line, George Nader, 32. 32.366. Then Jack West behind goes to the top by a couple of thousandths of a second, 3 thousandths to be exact, as he comes across to set that time. Duncan Hoffland, good effort from him. Another couple of thousandths behind. Again, super close here at Kota. Tom Manley across the start-finish line now with his wheel clamped to his desk in P4. Also another 32.2. That's 4 drivers in the same tenth of a second. Manuel Bankalila will be next, and he goes up on a 32.2. What do you know? It's another 32.2. And here we go now. This is when it's going to start getting fun. We have the top 5 within the same tenth of a second here at Circuit of the Americas. But Jack West is currently the fastest man in Q2, and the cutoff right about now is Simon Shootout on a 32.546. And there you go, down the bottom of your screens. Jarno Wotmere has officially joined the lobby.
Yeah, that's, I think the news that everyone wanted to hear. Jarno Wotmere in the lobby, so he'll be starting from the back of the grid. I said Max Wiesel might be feeling pretty confident. He's currently on a 132.346, but he's now down in 6th place. We've still got one hard yet to set a time. Dempsey, who was up towards the top in the last session. I don't think he's done a time yet on the soft tyres. Jake Benham invalidating his lap as well, so Max Wiesel probably having to go out at the moment. It is incredibly close. This is almost esports levels of closeness. Top 5 all on a 132.2. The top 3 drivers, sorry, within 6 thousandths of a second. I can't even describe how short that is. We always say a blink of an eye. Blink of an eye is so much longer than 6 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, I think a blink of an eye is something like 0.2 of a second, I think, is, or have I heard that wrong, or 0.02 of a second is a blink of an eye. So this is even closer than a blink of an eye, because Jack West and Ruben Pedreño separated by 3 1,000ths of a second. That is barely a couple of centimeters right there. And then you've got, again, Hoffland and Pedreño also separated by 3 thousandths of a second. So 6 thousandths covering the top 3. As you said, Duncan Hoffland, he's retired from the session. He's going to be happy with a 32.2, and I think he's right to be. Jack West, he's also happy with his. I'd imagine Ruben would also be happy with his. So 32.2, is that safe? 32.3 could be cutting it fine here. So I think anyone from sort of Max Wiesel downwards, I think, needs to go again.
Yeah, definitely. I think Max probably not going to be feeling that safe on that one. Valentin Tygard's headed out there. Jake Benham, unsurprisingly, having been the only driver yet to set a lap, he's out there as well. And it is incredibly close, and the USA has history of incredibly close races. 2002 United States Grand Prix, Schumacher and Barrichello. Barrichello just pipping Schumacher towards the line after the German decided to slow down. 11 thousandths of a second separating the two of them there. Imagine if we get a race that close tonight. It would certainly be one to watch out for. But Benham out there on the circuit. Interesting that Ruben Pedreño has gone out as well. 132.222. Second place at the moment, but possibly not feeling that confident just because of how close things are, I think, with everyone else. But Jake Benham about to start his final lap in this session. He needs a good one here. Can't really afford to leave anything out on the track.
Absolutely. So Jake Benham, all the hopes of Mercedes on his shoulders as it was in one of the rounds in F1 Esports this week. But again, let's see what he's capable of. Made his debut this week and is full of confidence after scoring his first points in F1 Esports this week. So let's see how he gets on his qualifying lap. He's only got this run to do. And let's see what he's able to do in the first sector. Just coming up just around now as he comes through the right-hander and back to the left is a 25-0 in the first sector. Very quick first sector from Jake Benham. Hugs that curb very nicely. Oh, huge oversteer moment on the way through. That'll be at least a couple of tenths of a second lost through there. Manages to hang on, though. He's got to keep his head down and keep it going. But that is a big, big error from Jake Benham. That's not the first time we've seen the errors through that left-hander over the top of the hill. The car just gets light on the way out of that corner, going over the compression, and he manages to hang on to it again. But so that would have cost him some time, but he's going to keep going down into the left-hander. Apex on the left-hand side. Again, very forgiving, like Luke was referring to earlier, into the stadium section, onto the right, and onto the power again, feathering that throttle through there. Very easy to spin out here, such slow speed. Down to fourth gear, finds the apex on the left, down towards the triple right-hander now. This is his only run. Will it be enough after that big error in sector number 2? Down towards the last 2 corners now, into the left-hander. Careful not to invalidate on the curb on the left-hand side there. and through the last corner now for Jake Benham. Is it enough to get himself to Q3? Onto the power he goes. It is for now 32.2, and you would imagine there was more time in that, but it's a mid 32.24. Will that be enough, Luke?
Oh, I think it should just about be fine on that one, to be honest. But yeah, he massively close to spinning the car, close to invalidating, and he didn't really have enough time to abandon the lap and go out once more. Valentin Taillard comes across the line. He goes fastest of everyone. First driver that we have seen tonight into the 132.1, so he should definitely be safe. The Frenchman at the moment, Georges Nader, making his way around the final couple of corners at the moment. He's on for a 132.1 at the moment here, so possibly Jake Benham might just be looking over his shoulder at the moment and possibly feeling a bit nervous. Nader towards the line, puts it in towards 5th place. Next we've got Drake Dempsey. Wait and see what he can do. He only goes up into 11th. Drake Dempsey at his home race, out here in Q1. Max Wiesel towards the line, needs to find some time to be comfortable. Finds plenty of time in the final sector. Gets himself towards 2nd place. Modesto Mena has invalidated, so that is bad news for him. We've got a Red Bull heading into the pits. I think one has actually spun as Ruben Pedreño goes fastest of everyone. Next up towards the line, it is going to be Timon Shooter, and it was him who made that spin. He is out of the session, as is Liam Parnell. What can Thomas Ronhaar do? There is your answer. 131.836. Ronhaar goes fastest of everyone, and Tom Manley has invalidated. Jake Benham hangs on by the skin of his teeth. 29 thousandths of a second.
Well, I asked, was it enough? It certainly was. In the end, Jake Benham scrapes through to Q3, but Thomas Ronhaar, the first man to break into the 31s. 31.836. Ruben Pedreño behind him. Very impressive. Once again, Manuel Blancalila finding some confidence. 32.028. And he goes to 3rd in there. Valentin Taillard, again, great performance. Mirko Suriano, Jack West, Duncan Hofflin, George Nader, and Jake Benham. How close do you want it to be? I mean, you can see from Jack West down to Tom Manley, Mirko Suriano, all the way down to Tom Manley, they're all on a 32.2 within the same 10th of a second, and that is all it was. Make it through 2/100ths was the cutoff in the end, and Thomas Ronhaar making it through, but some great performances there, especially by, I think, Manuel Blancalila, a standout there, and Valentin Taillard again impressing. And Max Wiesel continues his good form, Luke, through to Q3 again.
Yes, certainly does. Fantastic job from him on that final one. Ronhaar, Pedreño, Biancalila, Taillard, Wiesel, Suriano, West, Hoffland, Nader, and Benham will be the 10 drivers fighting for pole position. Tom Manley, Modesto Mena, Drake Dempsey, and the Red Bull duo of Liam Parnell and Timon Shooter missing out on that one. We'll be back with Q3 after this short break. Well then, nearly time for Q3 then. It's been a fascinating session so far. Thomas Ronhaar fastest in the 2nd session there by quite some margin. Only driver in the 131s, and we know he's got plenty of fresh soft tyres left. He's only done 1-1 across the 2 sessions on the softs. Yeah,
so he's got plenty of opportunity to go for pole position, but he only did 1 run on those softs as well, and then straight into the 31s. The only guy to do it, closest man to him, was a 32.008 Pedreño, and just behind him was Manuel Biancalila, also on a 32.0. So it seems like he's going to be tough to beat, but again, we don't know. Maybe these guys behind them have got some pace in hand, but it looks like Ronhaar is going to be the man to beat. He's the man to beat currently in qualifying in F1 Esports at the moment. So I think it's going to be a tough task to beat him here at COTA, but there's 10 drivers in and 9 drivers will be trying to beat Ronhaar to pole position. Both Haas's making it through, both Aston Martin's making it through. Good performance from them. Just one McLaren getting themselves through as well, and Jake Benham as well. The sole Mercedes getting himself through into Q3, but of course Jarno had his problems with his pedals. He'll be starting from the back of the grid, so we'll see what he's able to do there. But Manuel Blancalila, I think he'll certainly be taking some confidence from this. Of course, hasn't had the best of seasons in F1 Esports, and is showing some really good pace here.
Yeah, Biancalila, one of those drivers that we see on other other racing simulators as well, so perhaps not surprising that it's taken him a bit more time to get into the rhythm on F1 22, but judging by the performance tonight, he's doing a very good job indeed. We'll wait and see what he can do. We've got Ruben Pedreño in there. He's always there, all thereabouts. Bit of a shock to lose Tom Manley in Q2, if I'm being perfectly honest. But again, he's got issues with his rig, so he's having to have his wheel clamped to his desk, possibly in a different position, not what he's used to. So perhaps not surprising that he is maybe a tenth off what he normally would be. And with how close things are in league racing and in esports, the 10th is often all it takes, the difference between making it through and being out there at the moment. Let us know in the chat who you think is going to get a pole position. Will it be Thomas Ronhar? Will it be Ruben Pedreño? Will it be Jake Benham? Will it be someone completely different as Manuel Biancalila invalidates through turn number 19? And then, of course, I think, judging by the fact that he ruins the pit lane and from my memories of when I last played around here, that ruins your next lap as well.
Unfortunately, yeah, so Manuel Biancalila has got a long run around now. Unfortunately, he's had to come straight back into the pit lane, so he'll have to strap on another set of soft tyres. Hopefully he's got another one to use. I'm sure he's got plenty of other sets of soft tyres left, but it will be the man who's been very impressive today, Valentin Tivard, coming through the final corner now to begin the first runs of Q3, and we'll see if these are going to be, I suppose, representative. Again, sometimes we have guys going out unused at the start of Q3 to get a sense, but chucks it into turn 1 right there. Loads of confidence to almost, I suppose, was able to feel the grip was there, threw it into the first corner and was happy enough with how the car started. We'd just be judging off the first sector here to be able to see what the time is going to be. 25.183, so not quite on the pace that we saw from other guys in Q2. We're sort of expecting it again. There's that oversteer through that left-hander. That seems to be the problem corner today, Luke.
Yeah, turn number 10, really quite tricky. The car coming up over the crest of the brow, you know, unweighted possibly. The tyres not giving the purchase that you need, combined with a bit of a hit on the curb on these new ground effect F1 cars, really seems to be having an effect, and that is Kozolomni had that strange incident earlier. Jake Benham, big side in Q2, still managed to make it through. And just right there, Valentin Tivard having an absolutely massive moment. Looks like he is, though, continuing on his lap. Wouldn't surprise me if this is a old set of tyres. I think certainly for Tivard, wouldn't surprise me if everyone but Ronhar and possibly Ruben Pedreño is having to go out on an old set of the Red Bull Pirelli Weather. As round the final couple of corners comes Valentin Tivard. Wait and see what time he can do. Again, going to be running out of VRS right towards the end. There's a bit of traffic ahead of him. Isn't going to provide any distraction. It's going to be a delta on the board. We lost plenty of time earlier on and a 1:33.982 for Valentin Tivard. Definitely won't be anywhere near good enough for pole position at the moment, as we've seen a few more drivers heading towards the end of their first qualifying runs.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. George Nader, well, he's on a brand new set of tyres. They look very, very shiny. So George Nader, he did 25.0 in the first sector. So a tenth up on what Tivard did in the first sector. So we'll see what this first time will be for Nader as he gets on the power nicely. Got that car straightened so early there. It's helped his traction. And 102.1 is the second sector split. So looking good for Nader here. Gets it into the left-hander in front of the stadium. And then around the long right-hander here, triple apex. And again, sometimes you can take too much curb there and invalidate your time. It's always been around here that the problems have been. Car in front of him getting out of the way. That's Jake Benham just getting out of Nader's way. And then around the last corner, this will be the first representative time on the board. And it's going to be a 32.348 for George Nader. And gets across the line and gets his time done as Jake Benham just beginning his time behind him, and the next car to cross the line finishing their lap, and he was on a massive flyer. I tell you what, Ruben Pedreño, I think he's about 4/10 up on Nader in the middle sector. Let's see what this time is going to be for the Spaniard in the McLaren, looking really tidy. Coming to the line now, here comes Pedreño. It's a 31.972, so about a tenth off what Ronhar did, but that is very competitive.
Yeah, fantastic lap time there by Ruben Pedreño, 1:31.972. The Spaniard's definitely been one of the informed drivers this season. He's rarely had a weak race, so we're not surprised to see that he's definitely still in the championship hunt, and who knows, could even take second place in the championship tonight. Mirko Soriano comes across the line, gets himself in towards third place. Jack West has also done that 1:32.0 there. We just got, I think, one of the cars coming in towards the pits towards the end of the lap. That will have been Valentin Tijgaard, of course. But let's see what Thomas Ronhart can do. And what he can do is invalidate through the final corner. And that would have been an absolutely smashing lap time from Ronhart. 1:31.696. But unfortunately for him, it counts for nothing.
Yeah, just took too much curve into the final corner. That would have been a 31.696, which is an incredible time. Biancalila will go to 6th place, 32.4. I'm sure he's got more time, and I did a 32.0 in the last part of Q2, so he'll know there's more time in that. But yeah, Ronhart, so just taking too much curb and threw the lap away in the final corner in that Haas car. But he's going to take some confidence by the fact he did a 32.6, nearly 0.3 of a second up on Pedreño. So incredible amount of pace in that Haas, and he's going to have to, unfortunately, because he invalidated in the final corner, he has to go all the way back around again because this lap time is also invalidated. So some time and some work to do. As now, of course, Jake Benham, he just finished his lap and he's gone to the front row at 32.050. So he's got just a couple of hundreds between himself and Pedreño. But I think at this point, unless it's invalidated like before, I think it's almost inevitable that Ronhart's going to take pole here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, fantastic performance by Ronhart so far. He's just got to keep it nice and clean. Not only during qualifying, he's got to keep it clean during the race as well. When things are this close, there's never really too big of margins in races. Picking up 3-second penalties, picking up pit lane speeding penalties. Yes, we even see esports drivers do that on occasion. Can really end up costing you. But 3 minutes 40 to go. The main worry for Thomas Ronhart at the moment, getting back towards the pit lane, getting a fresh set of soft tyres on, and getting back out on the circuit and seeing if he can get pole position. Pedreño currently on that provisional pole position. Benham, West, Soriano rounding out the top 2 rows of the grid. Hoffland, Nader, Biancalila, Wiesel and Tijgaard. The rest of those that have set a time. And Thomas Ronhart, as things stand, would be starting from 10th place. But still, of course, a long way to go, as once again, Valentin Tijgaard is going to be the first driver to set his final run.
Yep, and he knows he's got time to find. He's on a fresh set of tyres now, some brand new shiny Pirelli soft tyres, 33.9. Remember, he made that big mistake in the first, just at the end of the first sector over the hill. So turn number 10 on the exit there, and he'll know. Maybe he might be a little bit more cautious going through there now, but also you can't afford to because it's the climax of Q3 now. You got to push to get yourself up towards the top end. But I think he feels he can have a potential front row start here for Valentin Tijgaard as he in his Williams car now. It's getting some heat into the tyres. One of the Haas cars out onto the track now as well. George Nader into the first corner now. So it's going to get now. This is the fun time of qualifying now. The final runs. And it's a slow, climactic build-up as Tijgaard gets some heat into his tyres down the back straight. Heat in the brakes as well. Important to have some confidence in the car as well. But it's interesting now. It's all going to come down to the final runs, and we know it's sort of classic Thomas Ronhart. He will go last in this session.
Yeah, he will. I mean, you can see at the moment he's just started to head out of the pit lane now, roughly at the same time as Duncan Hoffland. So we won't be too surprised if he drops behind Hoffland and wants to leave us waiting to see if he can get pole position. Everyone is only going to have time for one final lap. Everyone's only going to have enough tyres and enough electrical energy from the hybrid power system to get one lap in this qualifying session. Is it going to be a clean lap from Ronhart? If it is, the form book suggests it's going to be good enough for pole position. Is everyone else possibly fighting for second place and a possibility getting a pole position in qualifying against one of the fastest one-lap drivers out there at the moment? Valentin Tijgaard then starting his final run in qualifying. Big side through turn number 10 on his first lap. We'll be hoping for a lot cleaner this time around. Nice and tidy at the moment from the first couple of corners. And just checking what's happened in the Discord, there's a few drivers not happy with the Q2 performance, where Jake Benham just coming through this part of the circuit as we're heading up towards now as Valentin Tijgaard goes faster. Coming through turn number 10, we saw a big moment from Jake Benham, and he looked very close to the white line. So Tom Manley, I think, feeling pretty aggrieved from that one. Can't imagine anything's going to be done about it now, but the stewards will look at it afterwards, and that could be a qualifying ban for a future race if he's found to have gone over track limits and got away with it.
Yeah, so there's some conversation going on in the background, so that we'll take some might take these qualifying results with a pinch of salt in some cases, but there's work going on in the background. But anyway, we'll focus on what the job at hand. End of Q3, Valentin Tuvard, he'll be the first set of time. He's in a very, very good middle sector there, 101.9 in the middle sector, about 2/10 off of Pedreño, but still could be on for second row here if he manages to hook up the lap through this last bit of the lap. Round the long turn, 17 and into 18 and 19 in just a few seconds time. Chucks it in, possibly a little bit of understeer, and that's invalidated the time in the final corner. You can just see the front end wasn't happy through that part of the lap. It would have been a 31.8, and it would have been enough for provisional pole. That is very unfortunate for Valentin Tuvard, invalidated in the final two corners. That would have been enough for provisional pole, but unfortunately didn't manage to hook it up, got understeer through the last part of the lap, and unfortunately threw it all away. So that is very, very disappointing for the Frenchman. George Nader, though, he's also on a good lap here in the Haas, round the last corner for the Haas driver. Onto the power he goes now. What will it be? It'll be a 32.0, so it's currently provisional second place. Jack West, he will not set a time, he's invalidated his run. So the next card across the line will be the Alpine of Max Wiesel, who's been on such great point-scoring form. He's made it to Q3 once again, and let's see where he can put his Haas car this evening. Into the last corner for the last time at Q3, onto the power, a little bit of oversteer on the way through, onto the power. It is a good lap again, a 32.040. Just behind him is Biancalila, who didn't improve on that time. Next up is Pedreño, 31.759. Brilliant effort from him. Suriano, second place for him. Jake Benham goes third. Next up is Ronar, and he goes on a 31.5. Smashes it out of the park once again. Thomas Ronar with a solid effort. Duncan Hofflin going third in the last gasp attempt, but it's almost inevitable, Luke. 31.5. Thomas Ronar on pole.
I've commentated a lot of aces on this game. There's not too many where you see pole position being taken by nearly 2/10 of a second. Thomas Ronhar, fantastic time, almost matching what happened in esports, which was a 31.4. Fantastic from him. Pedreño in second, with quite a bit of a margin over the rest of the field as well. Hoffland and Suriano, your second row of the grid. Jake Benham, George Nader, Max Wiesel, Jack West, Manuel Biancalila, and Valentin Tuvard, with those bottom three all invalidating their final runs, possibly feeling a bit aggrieved. I think Valentin Tuvard's time in the end possibly could have been good enough for that second row of the grid, but I mean, we're not surprised, are we? Thomas Ronhart, when he's on it, he is on it, and at the moment he looks almost unstoppable, and that 131.5 is going to be a bit worrying for the rest of the drivers. I hope he doesn't have that pace in the race, otherwise it could be a long 28 laps.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an incredible time from Thomas Ronhar. But I think Pedreño can potentially take some solace from the fact that he was, I suppose, within 2/10 of Thomas Ronhar, as a man who's fighting for the F1 Esports title. Pedreño is the nearest man to him in WOR, so a good effort from him in that sense. We're just trying to see, we may have a restart going on, but we're not 100% sure just yet. We'll find out in a couple of seconds, because of course Jarno joined late, so we're not sure if he's going to have some game issues because of the because sometimes with the game, what happens with the game, I think you can't actually load a setup or something. I think if you join late in qualifying or something like that. So no restart. We've just heard the official word, no restart, and we'll be getting underway in 20 seconds time.
Yeah, so that is definitely good news for everyone there. Let's take a look at the circuit of the Americans then. 5.513 kilometers, 3.425 miles, 20 corners, and the 2 DRS zones, which will be absolutely crucial for overtaking then. We wait and see what is going to happen here. No formation laps. Let's not forget about that one. So we're going to be heading straight in towards the race here. And it is Ronhart on pole, Uppbeat at the back. 5 lights are on. They go out and we are underway for the United States Grand Prix. Straight away, Thomas Ronhart getting a fantastic start. It's going to be well clear of everyone else into the first corner as George Nader tries to throw it down the inside. Thankfully, not doing what his namesake did into turn 1 on the Ferrari of Mirko Suriano, as Suriano getting sandwiched by Benham and Nader. But it is Ronhart leading from Pedreño, Hoffland, Nader, Benham, Suriano, Biancalila, Wiesel, Tom Manley jumping some positions at the start line, and I think that's Ika Baena who's had to skip a few corners in the background, and straight away Manley trying the battles again, trying to make some moves earlier on a set of the hard tyres. Biancalila lead car on the mediums as Drake Dempsey out of the session at his home race. He is out, and that is a full safety car.
Same corner that his teammate dropped it in qualifying. Drake Dempsey in the wall on the exit of turn number 10. Safety car immediately out of the pit lane, and here come the safety car penalties for guys bumping each other under the safety car. But yeah, that was a great start from Ronar, you have to say. Got away very, very well on the hard compound tyres, made it work. Pedreño had a little look down the inside into turn 1 and almost got it done. Not quite though, as Ronar had the run on the outside. Duncan Hoffland, very, very good qualifying from him. He stays in 3rd place. And here come the penalties for the safety car infringements, which will probably get removed afterwards anyway. But Jake Benham, good start from him. Biancalila trying to make use of the medium tyres, and this safety car will certainly help to look after those tyres. And Jarno up 2 places from where he began. There he is in P17. Started right at the back, made up, well, I suppose 3 positions with Drake Dempsey putting it in the wall, Ikerbena and Tino Nakarin, and also he didn't take part in qualifying. He's in 19th place. So safety car comes out, and we didn't even get a lap done. So let's see what happens here. A couple of drivers in pit lane. Jack West into the pit lane. We've got multiple cars in the pit lane. I think we've seen this before, Luke. Guys will switch onto one set of tyres and then immediately come back in the next lap, and that's their mandatory stop done.
Yeah, it is. Of course, you have got to use 2 different types of tyres in a dry race. It's looking a bit overcast at the moment, but with the majority of the field starting on the hard tyres, I think we can safely say it's not going to rain in the first half of the race. We may get a bit of rain coming in later on, but it is looking dry out there at the moment. And judging by the fact that a lot of these are going onto the soft tyres, I think they are going to end up coming straight back in as they're going to be coming straight back in as well. And also, if you're Modesto Mainler and Liam Parnell, you're going to get that 5-second penalty removed. And once you have pitted and got it removed, you can't then ask for it to be taken off by the stewards. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of an interesting race, I think, this one, with drivers in a few different places. There's Jack West, thankfully. Looks like he is back in the session at the moment. I think we'll be seeing him coming into the pits for a set of the hard tyres once more. Ronhard, Pedreño, Hoffland, Benham, Nader getting through nice and clean in the early stages. Manuel Biancalila gaining 3 places on that set of the medium tyres. He was one of the biggest gainers before we started seeing drivers come into the pit lane. And it's not a bad place to be in, because of course on the restart once again, yes, it can sometimes cause another safety car, but he should have a bit more grip over those ahead of him. So don't be surprised if Manuel makes a few more places on this restart in a couple of laps' time.
Yeah, he is. He's already up 3 places from where he started. He did get a good start compared to everybody else. But to answer the question of Luke Humphries, yes, Jack West did join back, because for those of you that are wondering why he left the session, he thought it was going to be restarted, and he left before the race started and got back in, and thankfully he's managed to get himself back in 13th place, and has used his pit stop wisely now. So don't be surprised now. The guys who've gone on softs and mediums, don't be surprised to now see them come back into the pit lane again and switch back onto another set of tyres, because then that will be their mandatory stop done. And here they come. Into the pit lane comes Jack West, Diamond Shooter. Everybody who just pitted will pit again, and they'll go onto hard tyres, and that will be them going to the end of the race. Jarno Wattmeer has also decided he's going to come into the pit lane now to bolt on another set of tyres on his Mercedes car. He's gone onto the medium tyres there. So now, all those guys behind now do not have to stop again. Those on the hard tyres for definite anyway. Jarno's gone on mediums, maybe perhaps pushing it a little bit, but at the hards now, those guys don't need to stop again.
Yeah, unless Hotmeer's going to come into the pits next time around, which I think is not going to do, because they'll have caught up to the pack and we'll be seeing the safety car come in. He just wants to be a bit further hard. He just wants to make this last to first a bit more difficult for himself. But he's going to have a lot more grip than those drivers ahead of him, so we could see Hotmeer making some more moves. But very interesting indeed to see him coming into the pits. And Ty Valentino actually staying out there because they came in for a set of the medium tyres, did the Williams. So they gained some places from that one. They have used both sets of tyres, and if they've got a fresh set of mediums, I believe they both started on the hard, so if they have got a fresh set of mediums later on, they can still use them and still be on a very quick tyre towards the end of the race. So not all is lost for those drivers. It's going to be a bit more of an intriguing one. Did they just overtake under the safety car to pit? You can kind of sort of get away with that one when you're coming into the pits. It's always sort of one of the grey areas in Formula 1, that once you're heading towards the pit lane, you can surprisingly fly around almost as fast as possible before you get to the pit lane speed limit line. In between the safety car lines, if you're in the pit lane but if you're in the pit lane area, but not actually where the limiter is, you can actually drive quite quickly around there. Safety car coming in this lap then. Montage leading away the field. He had a fantastic start last time. We'll see what he can do here.
Yeah, he is. He's got to back it up now and get everyone else lined up behind him now. It's all a decision about when to go, because it's sort of a tricky restart with the final corner being so tight. So he's got to think about, and there's another penalty for people hitting each other under the safety car. So I'm assuming a lot of these will get removed in the end, but a little bit silly. Thomas Ronhar now getting the tyres warmed up in the head of the order. When does he decide to go? Leaving it quite late here and gonna wait until he gets almost up towards the final corner here. Still, now he's gone on the way up towards the final corner. Catches Pedreño out a little bit with that restart, and we are under green flag conditions here at Koto. Once again, Ronhar leads them away. Pedreño in second, Duncan Hoffland in third place, Jake Benham fourth now. Biancalila on the attack already in the Aston Martin. Defensive line from Hoffland up in front as well, side by side as Pedreño goes a little bit wide in front as well. Biancalila gets the job done on George Nader there, side by side between Jake Benham and Duncan Hoffland. They sort themselves out. That's allowing Ronhar to get away, though. They cannot afford to fight through this section now and let Ronhar get out of the DRS so early on. A little bit of fighting with Biancalila getting the job done on Nader nice and early and staying with these guys. He's got to make use of these medium tyres early on in this session. Clean restart from Ronhar, and let's see if he can get away from the DRS.
Yeah, and another driver who's got to make use of the medium tyres, of course, is Jarno Opmeer down the inside then of Modesto Mader. And that is going to be another position for the Flying Dutchman. He gets himself in towards 15, just about. Modesto Mader trying to fight it all the way around the outside there, but not able to do so. As Manuel Biancalila there, straight away using that pace of the medium tyres down the inside. He goes. He is now in towards fourth place. This race looking very good for Aston Martin at the moment, as Tythard flying over the curb at turn number 12 there, coming back onto the circuit just ahead of Alessio Di Capua. He's getting a bit bullied by the Williams here. Tino Naukavainen trying to get a move done as well. Not able to do so. Oh, contact there, and that is Tino Naukavainen behind, spun around, and I imagine Jack West was the car behind him, so you've got to guess that was Jack West, who has started dropping down the field as well. So I wonder if West picked up a tiny bit of damage with that.
I think Yara would have seen a bit of flashback there. He passed all of them going through that corner as they all fought it out now. He's going to make another position to Capua very sideways. Here comes Opmeer then on the attack, back up to 12th place now on a big old charge from the back of the grid, making 3 places through one corner. He makes another one through turn number 1 there, up to P12 as well. Simon Shootout getting the job done on the other Ferrari of Mirko Suriano as he comes through sector number 1. So good stuff from Opmeer there. Now he's got to get himself within DRS of Valentin Tyvard, who's just in front of him now in the Williams car, but also there's obviously a penalty to be applied there. So Ronhar still leads, Pedreño second, Hoffland third, Biancalila in fourth place, up behind his teammates, still on those medium tyres as well. And I'm sure there won't be too much of a fight put up by his teammate if he does decide to go for it. Still has plenty of energy to use as well. No DRS just yet. It'll just be activated at the end of the third lap after the safety car. Is there going to be a move made by Manuel Biancalila here on his teammate? Just going to sit behind for now. A little bit wide into that corner, but very, very safe from him there. Opmeer closing up to Tyvard as well. Up behind as he gets sideways again. Tyvard not liking, not very comfortable on these tyres by the looks of it. A little bit of sideways action through that left-hander. Sorts himself out though, and Opmeer up behind him now as they begin lap number 6. We've only had 3 laps of racing now, of course, since the safety car, so there's still plenty more to come. The DRS is going to make things fun here as they come round to begin another lap. Ronhar has not used any ERS whatsoever up at the front. He's still got a full charge of battery. Pedreño looking very good as well as they come across the line. DRS enabled, now the fun begins. Yeah, now the fun definitely begins. We've had plenty of overtaking before the DRS is enabled. Jarno Opmeer sets the fastest lap of the race. The man who, his first victory here this season, saw nearly 250,000 views on YouTube with that one. I think this could just break the record if someone manages to get a win from here. He's now in 12th place. DRS is now activated, but with the entire field, apart from Western Naukavainen, who were involved in that collision a couple of laps ago, being in the DRS, it is going to be a bit tricky indeed. And Biancalila still stuck behind his teammate. I'm surprised there hasn't been a swap there, just because at the moment the mediums are still going to be the best tyre. Yeah, and I am also quite surprised, but I think it could be very shortly. Is Uppbeat down the inside of Tyvar. That's P11 for the Dutchman now. Up another place, and is not hanging around. Is there going to be a swap between the Aston Martins now? Is the question. Down the straight, Biancalila is too far back to actually go for it now. So no swap between them. Jake Benham sitting 9/10 back as well, so it's trying to stay within the DRS. Says a big move there from Nader. I think it was Simon Shootout having to go wide, or either that or Shootout tried to go for it, missed the corner, and Nader had to go wide, and it stays as it is there. Simon Shootout just up behind them there in the Red Bull car. So no moves made just up there, but the front guy's not pushing just yet. Ronar certainly is not. Hasn't used an ounce of battery just yet, and Pedreño neither is he. Staying put right there. Hofland not in as good a shape. Half charge in the battery for him. Biancalila about the same in the battery there as well in his car. It's all getting a little bit tight for space further down the order as well. As you see now, Tyvar's trying to come back at Uppbeat up towards turn 1. Uppbeat having to go defensive, and Tyvar's going to have a go at him around the outside into turn number 1. Uppbeat has to leave the space. Tyvar having a go on the two-time esports champion here through the next corner. It doesn't quite get the traction through there and has to cede the position to Uppbeat, but fair play for having a go. It was a good attempt.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, first WR race for Valentin Tyvar. Jarno Uppbeat, he's won many WR races. He's won many races in other leagues, and he's a two-time esports champion. But Tyvar does not care about that whatsoever. He's still pushing, and he's got a bit of a run on the Dutchman again here, coming down towards turn number 11. This would have to be a lunge, and I think realises that on this occasion, it is probably not worth it. But Tyvar, all of a sudden, looking a lot more racy in that Williams, just gets caught on the curb on the exit. Jarno Uppbeat is going to sweep to the inside of Carcelondi, and there we go. That is Lundy now down to 11 for Jarno Uppbeat, having started in last place, already into the points, and we're only at the end of lap 7. How high can he get in this race? Will almost certainly, though, have to come into the pits again, but could put on another set of the medium tyres, so definitely not out of getting a very good result here is Jarno Uppbeat. His teammate Jake Benham in 5th place. Earlier on, looked as though he was dropping back almost outside of DRS range, but has now just managed to claw things back in. He's within half a second of Manuel Biancalila at the moment, and with the energy saving, we've hit that phase of the race. This is what always happens. The first third, well, normally it's a bit more calm, but we've had all sorts of chaos and dramas going on tonight as Tino Nakarainen almost loses it through 16, 17 and 18. We've had all sorts of chaos on the first few laps. Now things settle down. Now you just manage your battery, manage your fuel levels if you need to. Manage your tyres to make sure you're in the best possible place later on as Nakarainen retires in the pits.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Tino. So had a spin through turn 17, I think it was, and has given up after that. With Jarno Uppbeat now in P10. So the more points he gains, the closer the championship is. Remember, he is second in the championship, 20 points behind Lucas Blakely. So every position he gains is a bit closer to the championship lead that he gets with every move he makes. Max Wiesel is his next target if he so chooses. And Max Wiesel, who's currently, again, one of the only guys who's scored points in every single round so far. Still on course to do that. In the background, a little bit of movement going on between Alessio Di Capua and Valentin Tyvar. Through goes Alessio Di Capua up into P12. So Valentin, after trying that move on Jarno earlier, has dropped down to P13 now. Seems to be struggling on those medium tyres at the moment. So lap 8 of 28, no movement up the front. Tyvar has just chucks it back down the inside of Alessio Di Capua. Why not? And retakes the position. Really getting his elbows out here is Valentin, and making sure that his presence is very much known in the WOR Tier 1 grid, which is fantastic to see. 2 tenths is the gap between Uppbeat and Wiesel, 7 tenths between Pedreño and Ronar up front, and no sign of them using any energy whatsoever up front. So both of them managing the pace at the moment.
Yeah, certainly just keeping things nice and calm between them at the moment. I think Uppbeat are now probably at the points where the hard tyres are slightly faster than the mediums that he is on. Just staying in behind for now, not going to do anything silly. He knows it is still all to play for later on, and generally, we see Jarno Uppbeat at the final stint of the race is where he comes really good. He loves racing these cars on the lower fuel, certainly in a race situation. Don't be surprised if he gets some big points coming later on in this one. It is starting to spread out a bit more towards the top as Di Capua becomes our first driver to get a time penalty for track limits. It is spreading out, particularly the Aston Martin of Duncan Hoffland. We said he was struggling a tiny bit on his battery early on compared to the other drivers. He's having to burn it all down the back straight here just to make sure he can stay within DRS range of Ruben Pedreño. This is bad news for, well, not only Hoffland, his Aston Martin teammate Biancalila as well, who also wasn't really too close there.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's again a De Capua and T-Vark trading places left, right, and centre. De Capua going through. He's just had a penalty right there for exceeding track limits. So it's still, as you said, Hoffland having to burn quite a lot of energy to stay with the top two, and it's just starting to fall back now. Biancalila hasn't been able to make any progress on those medium tyres either, so not going too well. T-Vark had a spin. Yes, he has. Through turn 17 and drops down into 17th place. Now after that he's going to come in. Those tyres will be absolutely screwed. Now he's going to have to put another set of tyres on as Altmaier now gets the move up the inside of Issel into turn number 1. That's another place gain for the Dutchman in this race from the back of the grid up to P9. I'm interested to see how he gets on these mediums. 18 laps to go. He's done 7 on them. Surely he's going to have to pit again, but certainly another safety car would help his cause.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, anyway, he'll be able to pick for a set of the mediums once he comes in again, whereas those others on the mediums ahead of him, like Biancalila and Diamond Shooter, are going to have to go for a set of hards, and they're definitely not the tyres you want to be on at the moment. Nader is coming close to dropping outside of DRS range, as is Diamond Shooter, so even though those two at the front are managing the pace, they are just causing a tiny bit of a split in the field here. Diamond Shooter did just about hold on to get the DRS. He won't have it next time around, I'm pretty certain of that one. That could put him under some pressure from Suriano and from Jarno Opmeer as well. Lap number 10 of the United States Grand Prix here at WOR. Make sure to check out Grid Rival, our sponsors. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We've hit 7,000 subscribers recently, and that notification bell will give you all the action across all 3 platforms here on the PC, PlayStation, and of course the Xbox tier as well, where Otis Lovens, not too far away from clinching the championship, believe he might be able to do it tomorrow. A long way away from the championship being claimed in this top tier. I think we're a long way from being able to confidently say who is going to be able to take this race win at the moment. Ronha looks like he's got things under control, but a bit of an undercut later on. You know, Pedreño certainly in range, Hoffland certainly in range, and possibly even Biancalila, because you would expect, and we've been wrong about this before, you would expect that he's got to be the first one of the leaders to come into the pits. The best of those medium tyres has gone. He's only going to start dropping back from now on.
Yeah, it's going to be a struggle to stay with the top 3 guys for now for Biancalila, but he has got an opportunity to go for an undercut, try something different. But you can sort of see now, Pedreño's having to use a bit more to stay with Ronhar up the front. Ronhar's got more battery to use compared to Pedreño, but still Pedreño did a good job to stay with the man who's fighting for the current F1 Esports Championship, and you can take some very large credit for staying with him up the front there. Mikko Suriano getting the move done on Diamond Shooter. Shooter losing DRS to Nader in front, so these guys need to get a move on and start to make some progress. Shooter now struggling on those 10-lap-old medium tyres, and Opmeer is all over him, his Dutch counterpart in the Mercedes. Let's see what he can do. Suriano 1.4 off the back of Nader, so there's some work to do for the Italian to try and get himself within DRS of Nader in front of him. Everybody in front of him has got DRS on each other, and that is a big challenge for the Ferrari drivers. They begin lap number 12. Things very settled. Diamond Shooter into the pit lane, the first of the medium runners to pit, and he'll bolt on a fresh set of tyres to get him to the end. You could really tell the tyres always just completely fell off within the space of a lap, and 10 laps, 11 laps seem to be as far as these guys can get.
Yeah, definitely. That first sector especially completely kills the front tyres. You'll lose plenty of time around there, and also 16, 17 and 18 will put plenty of pressure on the front left tyre, even though we are on an anti-clockwise circuit here. 11 left-handers and 9 right-handers. Diamond Shooter making his way around the first corner of the circuit. The rear tyre's not quite up to temperature yet, but Shooter is out on circuit, comes out in 16th position for now, and that releases Jarno Opmeer. We'll see how long he's going to stay out on the circuit. We'll see if possibly he can stretch these mediums towards the end, whether he'll go on to another set of mediums, or whether we'll even see a red set of tyres. Whether we'll see the soft tyres later on. He might set the fastest lap if he does that, but here in WOR, you do not get a point for the fastest lap. Other than that, it is an identical point system to what they use in the real life Formula 1, as there is a yellow flag. That is Valentin Tayvard around again. I see this a lot with Valentin. He's an extremely fast qualifier. I just wonder if his setups are just a bit too on the edge and a bit too oversteery to really be consistent in the race. We know he's got the pace, but just a lot of mistakes at the moment.
Yeah, it seems that rear end of the car looks very unstable. I think, is that Hofland going for it? Yeah, he's gone for the undercut. So he's even gone before his teammate Biancalila and has decided to come in and try the undercut. Nader follows him in. So this is the first of the pit stops for the top guys. And it is Hofland who blinks first from the lead here. Has he gone round again? He has. Tayvard is having a big old problem down the rear of the field there. And I think, yeah, the rear end of that Williams looks very unstable. It looks set up for qualifying, not for the race. So Hofland onto mediums, and that'll be to the end of the race. Nader as well going on to those, and they come out both in front of Diamond Shootout, who's gone on to hard tyres to the end. Carter Lundy picking up a 3-second penalty for track extension. Alessio Di Capua getting past as Lundy spun. He has, again, it's that turn 10 again for Carter Lundy, who crashed there in qualifying, and again, spins it round, going up the top of the hill. Tayvard did it on the previous lap as well, so turn 10 is a real problem corner for these guys up at the front end. As Jake Benham getting past Biancalila, who's on the mediums now. Jake's been sitting there, minding his tyres, looking after them, is on the attack. And Pedreño, you know, he's putting a little bit of pressure on Ronar up front.
Yeah, he is. I mean, F1 Ferrari makes a good point. Valentin Tayvard was a bit of a last-minute replacement in the race tonight in that Williams, so perhaps hasn't got as much practice as he would have liked. Perhaps maybe still got a bit more of a time trial set up on if he's not had to come across this in other leagues, so not too surprising to see him struggling, but he's still in the race at the moment. You never know what can happen in Formula 1 as Ronhar tries the old Raikkonen to get himself dummying Pedreño into the pits. Pedreño doesn't fall for it as Jake Benham speeding in the pit lane. 5-second penalty. All the good work. Overtaking Biancalila. Ruined in one moment.
Yeah, and that is as simple as that. Ruins it coming into the pit lane. Biancalila, that is Carter Lundy out as he retired in the pit lane. I think he has. Yeah, so that is not a crash that we've seen for Carter Lundy. So that Jake Benham in, Biancalila in, Tom Manley in. And watching for Duncan Hofland as he comes on the outside. Benham just in front on the exit, but he'll have the fresh tyres. Here comes Duncan Hofland around the outside, making the undercut trying to work, but Benham almost made that work with the overcut on Duncan Hofland, but Hofland just got in front coming through there. But that was a very telling sign, I suppose. Jake Benham, he went later than everyone else and nearly got out in front of Duncan Hofland there, but Hofland just about got it done.
Yeah, Hofland just hanging on there to that position. I think, obviously, the hard tyres were still pretty decent on Benham's car. And you can see Manuel Biancalila has lost a lot of time in that. He's now dropped behind George Nader, and he's on the hard tyres. Has just about stayed within DRS range as Lundy and Tayvard we lost on that lap. So we are just down to 16 cars now in this race. As there comes Jake Benham straight back at Duncan Hofland down the inside. Tyres nice and warmed up. And that is Benham in towards 10th place at the moment. He's got to get a move on. He has that 5-second penalty. 6 seconds for Di Capua, or from the track limit penalties. I can't see either of those being able to get removed. As into the pits comes Ruben Pedreño. Now, from what we've seen at the moment, he should be comfortably ahead of Benham and Hofland. But they've been going around on the medium tyres, and it is medium tyres going on the Spaniards McLaren at the moment. So Ronhar now comfortably in the lead. Jarno Opmeer in second, and he theoretically does not have to come into the pits, but almost certain he will be doing. But it's going to be an interesting one to see what the Dutchman in second place does. And it'll also be interesting to see how long the Dutchman in first place stays out on the track.
Benham's got Pedreño on the way out of the pit lane. He's managed to undercut him. So there you go. It has worked out beautifully for Jake Benham round the outside, and Hofland nearly got him as well. So the undercut is extremely powerful here, but he wouldn't have wanted to come out behind Jake Benham, and he doesn't have the tyre temperature. Benham trying to break away now up the front, but it was round the outside of turn number 1 for Benham to get it done on Ruben Pedreño. So excellent job from Jake Benham, only for the speeding penalty. This would have been very, very interesting, but he has got that penalty now, and Hofland putting pressure onto the back of the Spaniard. I would imagine now you'd expect Ronar to come in very shortly, seeing that now, seeing how powerful the undercut might be in this race. Biancalila thinking about going for it on Nader, doesn't quite get alongside to do so. He's on the hard tyres compared to everyone else on the medium tyre. Keeping an eye on Ronar now, coming through the second to last corner. Is he coming in? No, he's staying out. Is he thinking about softs maybe?
Yeah, I mean, we saw drivers do the softs fantastically well, and he set the fastest lap of the race on 15-lap-old hard tyres. Maybe that is why he's staying out at the moment. Ronar has got supreme pace into the pits. Comes Jarno Opmeer then. This has to be but another fresh set of the medium tyres. He'll come out round about where Wiesel and Shootout are, I imagine. So Jarno Opmeer coming out on that medium set of tyres. Jake Benham, then Biancalila, and all those drivers in the DRS train set the fastest laps of the race. We'll just see where Jarno Opmeer comes out relative to some of these drivers. Mirko Soviano getting ahead of him there. Max Wiesel doing so as well. So Jarno still in the points with 2 drivers ahead of him to pit. And he is on the medium. Certainly not out of getting a good points finish at the moment. But it looks like, barring an absolutely crazy end to the race, now Lucas Blakely will still be leading the championship with 3 rounds to go. Thomas Ronhaar, though, in the lead of this race, still got fantastic pace. The gap to Jake Benham, though, 17.7 seconds at the moment. And we know from the fastest laps that that is coming down. So, do you stay out longer, go for a set of the soft tyres, or do you come in now, possibly knowing that you're going to lose the lead, but you will have slightly fresher mediums than the others around you?
Well, I think it could be very exciting to see Ronar pit late, put on a brand new set of softs and see how, or put on softs or possibly mediums at the very end and see how many positions he can gain. Lap 16 of 28, no sign of him coming in just yet, going very long on these hard tyres. He's going to go as long as possible, but the longer he stays, and of course what's helping him as well, Luke, is that Jake Benham has got a 5-second penalty, so he's not really a threat in this race. But of course the other threat is Ruben Pedreño. He's right behind Jake Benham in this train of cars. Hofland, Nader and Biancalila, the other challengers in this one, as they begin lap 17 of 28. Alessio De Capoe, he's doing the same thing as Ronar here. He's staying out and going long on those hard compound tyres. He's got, of course, a 3-second penalty, but of course that could be removed if he decides to appeal it. Could have been a double warning, could maybe not. Well, he's picked up another one, so never mind.
Yeah, De Capoe really testing the track limits a bit too much at the moment. I think he's now actually up to 9 seconds of penalties. He's going to be dropping a long way down the order, depending on where he finishes. If we get a safety car, Bono and De Capoe are looking very good indeed at the moment. So we'll wait and see what happens for all of them. We'll wait and see what happens here between Benham and Pedreño. Ruben Pedreño knows there's a big possibility here of a second place finish, and that could possibly move him up to 3rd in the championship and within a race wins distance of Jarno Opmeer and of Lucas Blakely. But here comes the McLaren of Ruben Pedreño down the inside, nice and comfortably. And that is Pedreño up in towards 3rd place. And another interesting thing that's happening in this battle, Manuel Biancalila is having to push like crazy on those hard tyres, and he's nearly dropping outside of DRS range. And I think once he does, that's going to allow Suriano to get close, and Max Wiesel and Jarno Opmeer. After a promising qualifying, might be tough for Manuel to stay in the points here.
It was a right move for Pedreño to go for the move because Ronar is in the pit lane. So here comes Thomas Ronar. Let's see what's waiting for him. Brand new mediums waiting for the Haas driver. And we're going to be watching and waiting to see where he comes out relative to Pedreño. He will have the freshest tyres of anybody. Pedreño up towards the first corner. Watch for Ronar on the left. Pedreño will undercut him, as will Benham, as will Hofland. And let's see if Nader can do the same thing. With a little switch back through turn 1. Nader around the outside potentially. See if he can get this done on his teammate. Yes, he certainly can. And it's down to P5 for Thomas Ronar. So some work to do for Ronar, but he's got fresh tyres to try and work through. But right now, the man at the head of the field with 10 laps to go, Ruben Pedreño in the box seat. Yeah, Pedreño looking very good at the moment. We'll see whether Nader lets Ronhaar by later. I was surprised he went for that overtake at that point on the circuit, as we've had Simon Shooter retire in the pit lane. But Thomas Ronhaar got much fresher tyres than those around him. These have got to take the mediums longer than anyone else has managed to do. He's going to be sitting pretty, I think, at the end of the race, but has got
Yeah, he's effectively got 4 overtakes to do, because Jake Benham is going to have to get past him if he wants to get to Ruben Pedreño at the moment. Jarno Opmeer closing up to the back of Max Wiesel. ERS light flashing on the back of the Alpine. Max Wiesel's gone very deep indeed. This could be an opportunity for the 2-time esports champion as we come through this stadium section, through turn number 13 and 14. Gap's going to open to the inside. Jarno says thank you very much. He takes that position. He is now up into 8th place. And Max Wiesel unable to fight back. Next target for the Mercedes, Mirko Suviano. And after that, he has got clear air. Ruben Pedreño, nice and clear air at the moment. He leads with 10 laps to go.
Yeah, here comes Ronar on Nader. Nader is not fighting it up towards turn 1, so this will be P4 for Thomas Ronar, slotting in behind. Nader giving him a good fight, trying to go for the switchback, but doesn't have the grip. He's got 5-lap older tyres compared to Thomas Ronar. Ronar up to 4th place now, and some work to do for Mirko Suriano. As he said, he's 1.9 behind this gaggle of cars in front, so these guys need to sort of push on, close that gap, get up to the top guys. But it is very interesting now. Ronar just set the fastest first sector of anybody so far on those brand new mediums. And the only other guy who's got tyres comparable to him is Jarno Opmeer in P8. He's got 3-lap old medium tyres, but still there is some very, very fresh tyres on this Haas car at the head of the field at the moment. Pedreño, though, hanging on to the race lead for now. How long can he do that? Jake Benham with a 5-second penalty for speeding, so this is a podium place for Ronar anyways, for where he's currently at. Nader dropping out of DRS of the cars in front, so that is another crucial bit there. Biancalila will have DRS and Nader will not, and this will, I think, help the guys behind to close up as well. 1.6 is the gap now. It was 2 seconds earlier on, so Suriano making inroads on the cars in front. Lap 20 of 28. Pedreño, Benham, Holland, Hofland, Ronar and Nader, your top 5 at the moment. But how long will it stay like that?
Yeah, I think we're now at the point where we are going to see drivers making a few more moves. Thomas Ronhaar wasn't quite close enough to get it done at the same place as his compatriot did, as Duncan Hofland not quite reaching the apex as much as Ronhaar was able to do. Alessio De Capua, the other driver who stayed out fantastically long on those hard tyres. He's coming to the pits. He's on a fresh set of mediums. Sets the fastest lap, but down in 13th place with 9 seconds of penalties. He's going to need a bit of a minor miracle to get any points in this race at the moment. And you can just see Ronhaar able to take so much more optimal lines through the S's despite being stuck in the dirty air of Duncan Hofland. Even though that Aston Martin has got the DRS, I don't think we can see Ronhaar get himself into a 3rd place, which with Benham's penalty would be a net 2nd place with 8 laps to go. And there's not a lot Hofland could do about this, I think, even if he wanted to. Thomas Ronhaar is up in towards 3rd place. May have been undercut, but going longer seems to have been the best thing for him to do. As there goes Jarno Opmeer down the inside of Mirko Saviano, the Mercedes man, into 7th.
Yeah, he's making good inroads here. Remember, Jarno started last of the pecking order. This is a sterling vintage Jarno Opmeer drive from the back of the grid up towards P7 and potentially more on the cards now. But Ronar is getting ever closer to that race lead. Benham is going to drop down because of penalties anyway, but Hofland didn't have the battery to defend that with. Ronar still got plenty of battery to work with. Pedreño, though, he's managing out front as well. He's got plenty of battery to defend with, but will he have the tyres to defend with is the question. Lap 21 of 28. Pedreño still leads. Penalties now for Iker Baena and Alessio De Capua for the 4th time, I think it is now, for him. Jarno Opmeer now in DRS of Manuel Biancalila. Potential 6th place on the cards for him there if he can get close to him. But Ronar is making inroads now on the top 2. He's got 3-lap old tyres. Jake Benham 7-lap old mediums. Pedreño 6-lap old mediums. Those tyres are going to drop off heavily towards the end of the race, but Ronar's will be nice and fresh for this phase of the Grand Prix. So how can he make these work? Benham a little bit wide, but gets the good exit on the way out. So Ronar's going to have to be patient here, I think. Hofland staying with them in the DRS as well, so there's still work to do for Ronar, but he's got the tyres to work with. I think he doesn't have to really worry about looking after them. The guys up front, they've got to worry about tyre wear. He's going to have the traction in the slow corners and it's going to be very, very tricky for these guys to keep this man behind, the man who's fighting for the F1 Esports World title as well. It's a display nonetheless for him. Benham very wide. Ronar's nearly pushing him through the corner.
Yeah, I think Benham's mediums are just starting to already suffer that tiny, tiny bit. I mean, Montage all over the back of him. There's a poll in the chat. Where's Jarno Opmeer going to finish? They're saying top 5. He's all over the back of Manuel Biancalillo at the moment. And with Jake Benham having that 5-second penalty, getting ahead of the Aston Martin would be good enough to get Jarno Opmeer a net top 5 finish at the end of this race. Is Thomas Ronar going to risk it in towards turn number 1? Stays behind for now, and Jarno Opmeer also not close enough to make the move at the moment. A bit more calmer on lap 21 of the race here at WOR Season 13. 7 more laps to go, and you can just see through this S section, Thomas Ronar so much more grip again than Jake Benham. I don't think the Mercedes is pretty slippery in a straight line, and you can see another wobble through turn number 9 for Jake Benham. Gets away with it. Just get a feeling, Ronar, I think this is going to be a lap. I think Ronar this time around is going to go for the move down the straight. So close through turn number 11. The concertina effect helping out. A little bit of ERS usage. And that is Thomas Ronar alongside the Mercedes man. Can Jake Benham fight back at all? Has he got anything left to fight back with? Into the braking zone they go. Thomas Ronar up into towards second place. Ruben Pedreño, his next and final target, as Jarno Opmeer takes 6th.
Yeah, nice move for Jarno Opmeer. P6 he goes up to and stays in the DRS of Nader as well. So a top 5 certainly on the cards for Jarno Opmeer, but could there be a podium? Could he get up closer? Nader's struggling with ERS at the moment as well, so there is still a big opportunity for Opmeer to continue closing the gap to Lucas Blakely at the front of the championship. But Pedreño now, it almost seems inevitable. How can he hold this man back? The only thing he's got really is he's got more ERS than Thomas Ronar, but he doesn't have the tyres. He's got 3-lap older tyres compared to Ronar, which is a lot on the medium tyres in this race. Lap 23 of 28, and Ronar's already all over the back of him, and you can almost imagine he's going to do it on this lap down the straight. There's not really an answer that Pedreño has for the grip, even through the Maggots-Beckett section. He's got superior grip all the way through in towards turn 8, turn 9 and 10 coming up now. All he's got to do is keep it clean really for this next part, but Pedreño being very, very composed up the front. He has got more ERS battery, he hasn't had to use it, but now he's got to try and keep Thomas Ronar behind him for another 5 laps. Can he do it? I don't think he can. It's going to be very, very tough. Here comes Ronar now. Will he go for it this time? He's got the fresh tyres. Is this the move for the lead? Here comes Thomas Ronar on the 3-lap newer tyres, down the inside, and that is not even a fight up the inside. Thomas Ronar retakes the lead. Opmeer takes 5th on the way through as well at the same time, and surely now he can use these tyres to try and break away, but Pedreño's going to do everything in his power to try to stay with him.
Yeah, certainly, and as one McLaren loses a place, another one gains a place in a bit more of a tougher fashion there. Modesto Mena getting ahead of Tom Manley, who's having a bit of a poor race by his standards, obviously, with that adapted rig on his desk that he's having to work with at the moment. Certainly not ideal. Manley drops down to 12th place. Is this his championship chances? Just fading towards the end with 3 races to go. At the end of this one, Jarno Opmeer has overtaken George Nader. He's almost broken DRS to George Nader. He's almost got back within the DRS of Duncan Hoffland. Could we see Jarno get onto the podium tonight?
I mean, it's a possibility, because right now, if you take Jake's penalty, he's P4. So if he makes 1 more place, that's a podium for Jarno Opmeer. So there's still a big opportunity here for Jarno to get himself from the back of the grid up to a podium, which would be a sensational drive. Vintage Jarno Opmeer, as we like to see, as he returns to form after his double victory in F1 Esports, back in the title fight as well. And he's keeping himself in the title fight here in WOR as well, bringing the championship gap down to Lucas Blakely, despite having the pedal issues. But up front now, you can sort of see Pedreño. He hasn't let Ronar go, as he stayed in the DRS. Used a bit of battery to do it, of course, but he's keeping himself there just in case Ronar makes a mistake. But it just seems Ronar's got the tyres to work with here to try and make it work. Biancalillo getting close to Nader. Will he go for the move? He's thinking about it. A late look from Biancalillo. Nader has to go off the road. He gets a 3-second penalty for having to run wide. right there. Nader really struggling with the ERS battery, though he's got nothing to defend with. Jan Kalila on those mediums, going to chuck it down the inside of this left-hander. Nader will get the switch back on the outside, well, a little bit more contact. Nader's going to have to go all the way around the outside on those old medium tires. Will they keep it clean? Nader doing his very best to try and stay in there. He is staying just about in there. Has to back out in the end as they come through turn number 17. Very close in the end, but Bian Kalila gets his way through up to P6, and Jarno Watmere back in the DRS to Duncan Hoffland.
Yeah, and Duncan crucially out of the DRS of Jake Benham there, and you'd imagine if Jarno gets onto the back of Jake, surely they're going to swap, and you're going to get Jarno, oh! Mirko Suriano almost under braking going into the back of the Haas of George Nader. As I was saying, surely if Jarno gets onto the back of Jake, you've got to swap. Jake had a speeding penalty. He is not getting that removed. No chance whatsoever, I think. So Jarno gets ahead of Jake. Could he possibly have a charge at Ruben Pedreño? Could he even have a charge of Thomas Ronhart? I think the race victory might just be a bit out of Jarno's reach today, but a podium, you never know, and that will really close the gap at the top of the championship. As things stand at the moment, he would be just 8 points behind Lucas Blakely heading into the final 3 races. Ronhart leading them. Pedreño in the DRS, not using his ERS, could possibly go back for a move here. Decides not to, as Jarno Watmere has gone for a move on Duncan Hoffland. He's got himself into a net podium, and Mirko Suriano gets the move done on George Nader, who after only 12 laps, looks like Nader's tyres are absolutely shot.
Yeah, they certainly are, and he's really doing his best to hang on there. But tell you what, Pedreño's putting on an impressive performance, isn't he? He has not let Thomas Ronhart get away from him on those older tyres as well. And he has got the same amount of battery. He's managing this well, despite having the tyre disadvantage. So this will be a great performance for Pedreño to look back at anyways. But I think race victory might be just slightly out of his reach. You've got to think Ronhart's got more in the tank. Lap 26 of 28. Opmere now using up his battery to get in DRS of his teammate Jake Benham here, and this surely now potentially a swap in the cards for him, and he's now just nipped into DRS there as he using it all up. Ikerbena, he's out of the race, he's retired in the pit lane just there, so that's another one that has not made the finish in this very attritional US Grand Prix here, as Jarno now 0.8 of a second off of the back of his teammate. And you've got to remember, you've got to keep reminding ourselves, he's come from 20th in this grid as well, and displaying a great classic Jarno Watmere performance from the rear of the field as well. So Jarno Watmere now in the tail of Jake Benham. Jake's got a 5-second penalty, so he's on the podium anyways here. And Pedreño now, you can sort of see, is starting to struggle. He's not quite able to keep there. He's having to use more ERS to stay with Ronhart, and he's running out of laps. 2 laps to go when we cross the line next time. And I suppose all eyes now are really on Jarno and if he can get himself past Jake.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. Can he get himself past Jake Benham? He's not got a lot of ERS, so he might find it hard getting past Pedreño, even if he does do that. But yeah, he's tried it all. I mean, he's a 2-times esports champion for a reason. Managed to do something different on the strategy. At the time, we weren't sure whether it was the right thing, but we've not seen many people start last and get up to 3rd place so far this season. So I think you've got to say, going for this double medium stint, certainly proving to be the right thing. Jack West, he tried to get his tyres to last as long as possible. 23 laps on the hards. He now comes into the pit lane. I think he was the last driver that tried that double stop at the start of the race. None of them able to make it work. The tyre wear just too much around this circuit. Has Thomas Ronhart got just too much for Ruben Pedreño at the moment? Quick update in the championship. As things stand at the moment, Blakely would still lead on 124. Jarno would have 119 points, and it would be Thomas Ronhart moving up to 3rd on 111. All to play for in the championship, and still possibly all to play for in this race with 1.5 laps to go.
Yeah, Jarno is just agonisingly close to DRS, but can't get in it. He's 1.1 back, and I think really his charge has sort of come to an end. He's run out of ERS. He can't get close to Jake Benham. There's no team orders going on there. So Jake's just trying to keep himself within DRS of the cars in front just in case something happens. He is doing that, but he's having to use his battery. Ronhart and Pedreño are starting to use it up now. Ronhart's just got a little bit more in the tank compared to Pedreño at the moment as when it comes to ERS charge. So it's now going to be a case, can he hang on to take a victory here? Bian Kalila getting past Mirko Suriano there on those 13-lap old hard tyres. Those hard tyres will actually probably be in better shape than those mediums at the moment. You can sort of see the blistering on Suriano's left front there. Not looking in good shape at all. are those tyres at the moment. And Jake Benham's tyres have certainly seen better days as well with the blistering on the front, on the left and the right. Pedreño's done a good job to keep those tyres in the window as well. But yeah, Jarno's dropped off now. He's given it everything, but either way, he just needs to keep himself within 5 seconds of the car in front, and he'll secure himself a podium. The tyres just not hanging on for him in the end. Pedreño trying to keep those tyres to the end. Ronar doesn't have to worry. He's got those 3 lap fresher tyres and has managed to just about nip out a DRS there as well, away from Pedreño. Pedreño's given it everything, but there's not much he can do at this point. Ronar is out of DRS, so he has thrown absolutely everything at him. Unless Ronar spins, then there's no chance really for Pedreño to secure himself a victory here. But either way, it has been a classic performance from Thomas Ronar, taking pole position. He's led from the very beginning, taken the pit stop, the ultimate strategy really, and taken the tyres to the end. 3 lap fresher compared to everybody else as well. So coming up towards the last sector, either way, this is setting up for a brilliant championship finale. Lucas Blakely not here on 124, but the championship is going to go down to just a handful of points after this round. Ronar's going to bring himself into that championship fight, going to bring himself within 13 points of the championship lead here as he heads through the stadium section for the final time of asking as well. Put on a brilliant performance in F1 Esports here as well. In the end, it was Jarno Wotmir who came out on top that day, but it's going to go the way of the other Dutchman today at the wheel of the Haas, your F1 Esports title challenger as well. He's going to take a victory here around the final corner. Brilliant performance. Thomas Ronar wins in Kota. Pedreño just behind him. Jake Benham third, but it will be Jarno Wotmir to take the podium on penalties from the back of the grid and brings himself to within just a handful of points of the championship title as well. Going to bring it right to the wire in those last few rounds. Duncan Hofland just missing out on 4th as well. He finishes in 5th. Biancalila, great performance. P6. Suriano. Wiesel continues his point scoring streak. He finishes in P8. Very attritional Grand Prix for Thomas Ronar. There was never really any doubt, was there?
No, never really any doubt at any point in that one. I'm shocked with how close things looked throughout that entire race. How has Jake Benham somehow managed to hold on to 4th place in that one? Fantastic performance, and in thanks to all nearly 2,000 that watched the end of that race. Absolutely fantastic, and you saw a dominant performance once again from Thomas Ronar. Would say he's one to watch in the future, but his F1 Esports performances have shown he is one to watch right now. Absolutely superb from him. Ruben Pedreño holding on to 2nd place, and Jarno Wotmir tried the last to first. Last to podium, not bad at all. Wasn't streaming it. And that's going to be one to watch on his channel. He had plenty of overtaking to do throughout that race, and not too surprising to see that he has got that driver of the day performance from the game. It is Thomas Ronar, though, who takes the victory here tonight. Ruben Pedreño in 2nd place. Jarno Wotmir in 3rd. Benham, great job at the end of the race to take 4th position. Duncan Hofland and Manuel Biancalila 5th and 6th for the Aston Martin team. Soriano, Wiesel, Nader, whose tyres completely fell off a cliff at the end of that race, only just holding on to the points in the end. He was 9th. Modesto Maina 10th. Manley misses out. As was Parnell, De Capua. Jack West was a lap down. Baena retired towards the end. We also saw retirements from Shootout, Thivard, Lundy, Tino Nalkrainen, and Drake Dempsey. A fascinating race. Different strategies going on throughout the field. Ronar staying out longer than I think any of us expected. But not really a surprising result with that victory. He's looked so dominant all day.
Yeah, he has. And but I think overall it was a really impressive performance from Ruben Pedreño, because he stuck with Ronar all the way and just didn't quite have the strategy right in the end. But stuck with him on those older tyres. And you think he could have possibly if they were on the same sort of age of tyre, I think he would have given Ronar a good run there, but a really good performance from Ruben Pedreño. And I mean, classic Jarno Wotmir, back of the grid, up to the podium again with the penalty. But yeah, very impressive performances all around. But Pedreño, I think, very impressive to hang on to Ronar in the end. So I think he can be happy with that. But it's given us a championship fight. Just after all of that, the gap of the championship is just a handful of points now. Blakely's still leading it, despite having not been here for the last couple of weeks. But he's now in danger of losing the championship now. Jarno Wotmir is his next challenger in that one. But a very interesting race and a very interesting qualifying, because it was the first time I'd seen anybody get through from Q1 to Q2 not using a set of soft tyres.
Yeah, something that we've not seen too often this season, and we might even be able to have a little chat about how he managed to do that. We have got some of our podium drivers in, and we're going to start with the race winner, Thomas Ronhart. A fantastic performance. If we go back to qualifying, to Q1, I think that's the first time me and Jack have seen on this game anyone manage to get through the first session on the set of mediums. You were flying out there.
Yeah, first of all, GG's to Ruben and Jarno, especially from last, as a pretty solid result. Yeah, reflecting on Q1, you know, I went for the meme, just trying to go through the Q2 and the mediums, and it somehow worked. I think it was only 2/10 off the fast time at that time, so can't complain. And then obviously Q2 and Q3 speaks for itself. Was a pretty solid qualifying. So yeah.
You went a lot longer than practically everyone else in that first stint of the race, knowing that you'd have fresher mediums at the end. That's something you expected perhaps more drivers to do?
Yes. First of all, I tried to go long because there were not many cars in the train. I think there was only 4 or 5 cars in the train. And I was in a call with 2 of them, so I knew they would not fight me as hard as the other 2. So my plan was always going longer than, you know, I planned in my head. I think I was going to go for lap 12 or 13 before going to the race. Turns out I went to lap 17, so you never know what could happen in the race. But yeah, I'm very happy overall.
Yeah, definitely. Great performance by yourself. Puts you right in the championship hunt. 3 rounds to go. Japan, Brazil, Abu Dhabi. The same 3 rounds that we are seeing in esports. You must be feeling pretty good with your form at the moment. I mean, you've been an absolute revelation, I think it's fair to say, in esports. A lot of people probably not expecting someone new to do a brilliant job, but you've shown over the last few races and again tonight, you're certainly one to beat at the moment. You must be feeling really confident and really proud of how things are going.
Yeah, can't complain once again. And yeah, only thing I can say is good luck to the other drivers.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what everyone else can do. Congratulations on your victory, Ronha. We'll let you head off.
Thank you, guys.
And next up, we're going to bring in the man who tried as he might, but in the end, the fresher tyres turned up to be too much for him. It is Ruben Pedreño, and we'll let Jack continue with this interview.
Absolutely. So Ruben joins me now. Ruben, I know you might be disappointed with not getting the victory, but I think hanging on to the back of Thomas, who's doing so well in F1 esports, must give you some confidence.
Yeah, I'm not disappointed, not gonna lie. He was incredibly fast. It was impossible for me to overtake. So yeah, P2 was the maximum.
Yeah, so obviously he had 3 lap fresher tires, I think, in the end. But either way, I think it's a good advertisement for you, sticking on the back of somebody who's fighting for the F1 esports title. Good pace shown, and climbing up a few places in the championship as well. So not a bad day.
Yeah, it has been really good.
And now we've only got 3 rounds left. They're the same rounds as the F1 esports calendar as well. How's the confidence going in there?
I'm on a good form right now, I think. In the past few races, I'm scoring a lot of points with a lot of podiums and a win. So I think I can do it well. But with the F1 esports calendar, it will be hard against the esports drivers.
Absolutely, but I think you're showing some good form there, and I think I'm assuming, Ruben, is your aim to one day race in F1 esports?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think we've shown he's sticking on the back of somebody who's doing not too badly. So Ruben, we'll let you go off and celebrate your podium, but thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
There was Ruben Pedreño, who's again, I thought he'd be disappointed, but obviously I sort of thought sticking on the back of Ronhart is not a bad display.
Yeah, definitely not bad whatsoever. We aren't going to get on Jarno, unfortunately. I think he's unsurprisingly feeling a bit tired. Had quite an interesting start to the qualifying session. Didn't do any laps, but brilliantly entertaining from him. Brilliantly entertaining, really, from everyone in the field. There was battling everywhere you looked.
There really was, and well, I've actually just looked in the chat as to why Jarno's not joining us. It's actually pretty funny. And you know what? I respect him for being honest. He's hungover, so at least if I was him, I wouldn't do it either. But there was yeah, brilliant battling all the way through, and I think Kota always provides this. It always does. It's a perfect track for overtaking. It's got the straights are just long enough to allow DRS to work and allow lunges on the brakes and stuff like that. But there's 3 rounds to go. There's still plenty that can happen. The championship is wide open now. Blakely's still leading it. Jarno's now second, just a couple of points off of him, and Ron has dragged himself into it now. He's 13 points off the lead now. So it's really anybody's. All we need now is Lucas to come back and start racing again.
I'm going to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if that happens now, because, as we said, we have got 3 esports tracks coming up. Japan, Brazil, Abu Dhabi. We've got a week break next week for the Brazilian Grand Prix, but yeah, maybe Lucas might think, you know what, need to come back, see what I can do, get that little bit of practice in, and if he does come back, we've got one fantastic championship battle. Even if he doesn't come back, we've got a fantastic one. Otmia now right up there, Ronho as well, and you can't write off Ruben Pedreño.
Yeah, Pedreño, we've obviously had the standings just posted in the chat. He's on 105. He's 19 off the lead, so he's not completely out of it either. So it's really a four-way battle for the championship, just like F1 Esports is. So you'll get it in F1 Esports, but you'll also get it in league racing just as well.
Yeah, definitely. Anything they can do, we can do better. I think I'd like to think that we can. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. There is Tier 2 action live right now. They're going around Japan if you want to get a bit of a taste of the action around that circuit with Reese Gregory and Seb Kowalski taking you through that one. We'll be heading over, though, to the Gridfinder podcast, so make sure to stay with us if you want to head over there. Thanks to Gridfinder for sponsoring this stream. Thanks to Jax for joining me in the commentary box. Sorry. Thanks also to Thomas and Ruben for joining us for the interviews. And thanks most importantly you two for being such an engaged audience. Once again, really do appreciate all your kind comments. And we will see you in 2 weeks for the Japanese Grand Prix. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and goodbye.